Hey all, thanks for being here. Uh, hello, ahoy, ahoy.
Hello.
Um, hey. I'm sorry, Corey. Corey, don't get upset. I gotta turn down the music a bit. Um, but
No complaints from me.
no,
Uh,
come on. There's
I
lots of
know.
complaints from you, Corey. There's
Keep
lots of
keep.
complaints for you.
True. Actually.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way,
I
I don't
mean,
know if
like,
I can continue watching House of the Dragon.
Prime, your mic is a little bit messed up.
is it? Sorry. You
It's a little
probably.
bit gainy.
Hold on.
It's very
Sorry. Hold on.
gainy.
Let's try this. I took off turn off the fan.
That seems better.
Testing. Is it better?
Yes, a lot better.
Okay. All right. All right. Fair enough. That's okay. I mean, I'll boil for lactoid's comfort.
After we have sing to the white man.
Yeah, that's all I
Typical
ever
Prime.
do. But no, thank you for letting me know. I appreciate it, friend. And yeah, I'll be fine. But House of the Dragon is amazing. What's wrong with House of the Dragon?
I can't watch my queen fall. That's why.
Oh.
Can't
yeah. She is. Oh, actually, first of all, I haven't read the books, right?
Either way.
Or the book, right? Okay, good. So I don't know. I don't know how it turns out. I mean, I don't expect good things for her because of like a woman's never been queen, right? Like, or at least, I mean, she was queen, but like it's not like something I'll ever talk about. So I'm pretty sure it doesn't work out well for her. In the end,
That's the vibe that I'm getting so far.
Yeah, but like, I don't know. The show is fantastic. Love it so much.
I have mixed feelings.
I'm worried about my love, right?
No,
Like,
she
I don't
should
think it's gonna work
stay
out well for
stay in her room.
She should have. Yeah. Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
I'll be heartbroken if she falls, but it looks like it's gonna happen.
Sorry, fellas, just tapped away. And we only have one other person who'll be here, so this is pretty much the crew, everyone.
I guess Gibbs is still at GridCon.
GridCon?
Yeah, apparently he was holding an event or whatever, organizing or part of.
Yeah, so you weren't here for last week, Lactoid. He was advertising that he did this one on Friday. However, today, and I mean, I completely saw this coming because it's happened to him multiple times. He was trying to head back home, but his flight got delayed, and so he has to spend an extra night at wherever the hell he is. But as long as he gets home safe. But
wait, GridCon is the sales.
No, it's some sort of. Well, I think it's like whatever, like DebateCon, but Gibbs and Grid thing.
Well, there is something called GridCon. When I googled it, there's already something called GridCon, and it's a whole bunch of different
maybe they're
business
infringing
leaders
on
that
it.
are.
Lactoid, they might need to hire you. I mean, I don't know.
There's a lot.
Everyone got tickets to that event.
Yeah. There are some events that are like, so this sounds like what from Lactoid said, sounds like a sales thing.
Sales.
There are some events within the same genre that have almost exactly the same name. There's like a thing. And so
it's hard to be original these days.
There's a lot of things you can stick before the word con. Like, I don't.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Looking in Gibbs's.
Clearly, he didn't promote enough. If you don't know about it, Black.
I've never even heard about it.
I think you're closer to Gibbs than I am. You should have been invited. I would imagine he'd been looking for debaters.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm not a good enough debater for Gibbs.
You should be offended.
I'm very offended. I'm not even seeing it in his Discord. He doesn't have it on news. News.
Um,
His last update to news was January 18th, 2021.
Well, I mean, he has like a bajillion channels in his Discord, so I
There's
don't think
way too many channels. Yeah.
Yeah, there might be like 20 different channels for updates, and
He has a different channel for each country.
so you got to go to the US one, and then there might be some sub channel for
he
US
even has
updates.
he even has like, so he's got some for like international like organizations too. So he has NATO, Africa, China, North Korea, Iran, Iraq, India, Israel, Mexico, Haiti, BRICS, Russia, UK. It just keeps going and going and going. I'm scrolling.
Does he have one for like Uzbekistan? All the news that comes out of Uzbekistan.
Nothing on Uzbekistan.
Ah,
he's got to add another channel.
So I don't. I'm pretty ignorant on Discord. Would those have to have been created manually, or can that be automatically?
Yeah, the creator of the Discord makes them.
But that means he must have gone out of his way to like.
Correct.
It also doesn't have to. Well, he didn't have to also do it all at once. It could be just like whenever something came up, he's like, "Oh, I'll create a channel for it." You know?
Today's the day to add Uzbekistan to my Discord.
Yeah, today's the day.
That's probably what happens.
Check. Done.
Yeah. I would do it by category. That would be my my choice, and you can find it from there, and you can just search, right? Like, I don't know, like, yeah, because some channels are just gonna be chock full of stuff, and then others are gonna be.
See, so it's a real thing, GridCon.
GridCon 2. So, let's see here. Oh, crap. An ad. Another ad. So who apparently does he have?
I do have a question for you, Lactoid.
Yeah, what's up?
This is gonna acquire your attention. So like,
okay,
go ahead.
Just give me 1 second. Let me just.
Yeah.
So here he had multiple debaters. Stardust was there. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
LSP. Yeah, never heard about this. What was their question?
So, I was in conversation with someone, and
it's true.
You.
No, I'm kidding. Go ahead.
You came up, friend.
Okay.
And we're wondering, like what wars? Because I know you are very critical of Ukraine, right?
Correct.
The Ukraine war.
Yep.
And I'd like to talk to you about something else specifically on Ukraine a little later on.
Sure.
But we'll put that aside for now. But you're very critical of the Ukraine war.
Я не люблю Ukraine. Go ahead.
But like, the reasons why you're critical of Ukraine seem different from like why I'm critical of wars in general, of American wars in general. So I'm curious, right? What wars has America been involved in that you are okay with? You thought like this was a good war to fight?
Yeah.
The Civil War, yes or no?
The Civil War. Let's go going back to the beginning, right? Revolutionary War, yes, that one's easy. I'm not as familiar with the all the details of the Spanish-American War or the War of 1812. I mean, you can get nitty-gritty. I'm not super familiar with all that, so I don't know on those ones.
Well, why don't we just cut to the chase, some more modern stuff? Right.
Well, sure. I mean, but just run through it on top of my head. Revolutionary War, Civil War, World War II. I'm not convinced about World War One actually, but World War II, I think so.
What are you not convinced about?
The Korean War. The Korean War may have been the last war that I would have actually supported. Maybe Vietnam if we did it right, but we didn't. So we didn't do it right. So no.
I think my friend, I think my friend predicted that you would say that. But the Vietnam War, if we did it right. But I'd have to go back and check.
What's doing it right? Nuking.
Not losing, not treating the whole.
Doesn't that go for every war?
Well, yeah. Well, no, you can. I think you can post hoc judge. wars. I think after the fact you can say, look, this was a, when you make a gamble and it doesn't pan out, like, wow, fuck, that was bad. We shouldn't have done that.
Wait a minute, hold on.
But I also
Well,
think that
yeah,
our interest in the Vietnam War was flawed in that it doesn't seem like we are actually intending to win that war. It seemed as though I think it was drawn out unnecessarily, and it was more, I don't know, it just seemed more like a police operation than it actually was like a war.
a police operation than it was a war.
Yeah.
Okay. Well. Okay. So I'm gonna put Vietnam War aside for a second now, because your feelings on that are complex.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna tread into waters that like I'm a little murky for me, right?
Sure.
But like, what was so great about the Korean War?
Sure. You have the North Korea in this case, which is, I understand that both North and South Korea were pretty repressive at the time, but you had North Korea backed by our primary geopolitical enemy launch a full-scale attack onto the South, which was not under the rule of the dynastic monarchist kind of Kim family, and didn't want to be, and they fought back, and yeah, we came in and we helped them, and we fought all the way. We fought them all the way to the line, the parallel. And we
The
fought them
line.
past it, and then the Chinese got involved and pushed us back. And yeah, I think in a situation like that, the two key reasons why I was in favor of, or I guess three real reasons why I'm in favor of the U.S.'s participation in the Korean War is A, the Soviet Union was our primary geopolitical enemy at the time, and doing so weakened our primary geopolitical enemy. Two, the people of South Korea did not want to live under the leadership of uh, the regime that was in the
Mm-hmm.
north, and very incredibly totalitarian government, obviously, in the north, and just been nothing but proven right on that as time goes on. And that kind of falls on a little bit of the hindsight here of we were successful in protecting the South and creating one of the world's top economies today, and a country that has incredibly high standard of living compared to the North. Like the human rights, not even comparable.
Okay, so uh, to be clear, like that's why I said this waters are murky for me because I don't have like a deep understanding of the Korean War.
Sure.
And so, but I'm just gonna go off of your words, right? Like it matches from what little I do know, right?
Yeah.
So it's like we didn't really create those standards, right? Like the standards you just boasted about, like for the like economy. Like we didn't actually do that. That happened later on, and like I mean, I do remember I went to Korea, South Korea. Well, yeah, obviously, South Korea.
The good Korea.
I'm saying they wouldn't exist without us. Is kind of what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm sure we helped with
Sure.
their economy too, but they probably would have been much better off in the North, even if we hadn't.
So the point that I'm making here is that Korea, it wasn't just like at the time South Korea was brutal. It was like for decades afterwards. Like South
Submarine
Korea
it wasn't good.
like awful. And so like I don't know if we necessarily like created that. I don't know. And again, I don't want to get too far ahead of my skis here because I just don't have enough information. I don't know what exactly precipitated their like democratic revolution. That didn't seem to be a concern of the United States. Now, it doesn't mean that everything you just said was wrong or anything, right? It's just that like that war didn't necessarily create that. You know what I'm saying?
No, what I'm saying is that
Mhm.
okay, what I'm saying is I think that South Korea, and this is like a hypothesis I have, that South Korea did democratize, and part of the reason it did so successfully is because the actual like kind of founding values of the country that was its patron, in this case us, pushed it into being that way. You see the same thing with Taiwan. I mean, Chiang Kai-shek was not democratic, but now Taiwan is much more democratic than China.
Mhm.
Syngman Rhee was not democratic, but now South Korea is much more democratic than North Korea. Um, and in both scenarios, you have, I think, like what is like, yeah, Syngman Rhee was bad, and I think Chiang Kai-shek were bad, but I think if you compare them to the people they're fighting against, and the leaders they're fighting against, and the governments they're fighting against, they're actually fighting against even more oppressive governments. I think Mao was more repressive and more violent and more destructive than Chiang Kai-shek. Even though he was not good, and I would never call him a democratic leader.
Yeah. I wonder if, so like, like the Korean War, I'm not going to give you much pushback at all, right? It's just, I was just trying to push back on one particular point. It's not like, America defended South Korea, right? And then like a flourishing democracy like sprung forth or anything like that. It was just like a lot of totalitarianism for like a while. But that's all my pushback. However, like this effect that you're identifying, right? And I think there are other examples we could probably pick out where something similar may have happened, right? And I mean, Japan, obviously,
Germany, biggest examples.
I wonder if that effect only happens to resource poor places, right?
Because Germany and Japan.
I'm aware. Yeah, Japan, resource poor. Yeah, Japan famously resource poor. And which explains a lot of their history, right? Of their foreign policy, famously resource poor. But
economically powerful.
That's not the thing that I'm talking about.
Germany,
right?
Then
resource poor.
On Germany.
Okay. So Germany's a bit more complicated. Let's put Germany aside for now, just for now. Okay. We can come back to it. But like for those countries, right, that don't have anything to mine, don't have anything to extract, right? It feels like, and I'd be curious to talk to a historian about this, but like it feels like in those countries, like we are maybe more willing to like let democracy flourish, right? Like to push them to be better versions of themselves, like or to align with us, in terms of values. But in other countries that do or have extractive value, those countries get a different treatment. Because we don't need a democracy, right? Coming up, with the people's own ideas as to what to do with those resources, and so undermining those burgeoning democracies tends to be in our interest. Would you disagree with that?
It's possible. I mean, I understand like the whole argument of the resource curse, but there's some examples here that are a little bit tough. So like, let's take an example of a very clear example of a really repressive resource-rich country, Saudi Arabia, right? Probably one of the most repressive countries and one of the most resource-rich. Under U.S. pressure, they have caved on quite a few things as of late. And I know it's going to sound funny, like, wow, they caved up, like, finally they're like in the 1800s already, right? But like pretty recently, under U.S. pressure, they began letting women drive, which they hadn't before. They began letting women go places without a male chaperone or a permission slip.
I believe also like there were women that like
you beat me to it, Corey. Yeah, there was actual protests within Saudi Arabia. There were protests within Saudi Arabia by women, right? You can see these videos of them like driving against the law, right? And making a big deal out of this and spreading that. And maybe what I'll give to you is that like the point of those videos was to go international, right? Like they
spread by Western media.
And then they got punished, right? And like some of those women like are still in jail. They were tortured,
right?
Like awful. And then other places push, but it wasn't as if like the U.S. cared enough, right? Oh, we got to get these women to drive.
No. I think what it is. No, I do think what it is that Saudi Arabia is in a precarious position where they're incredibly dependent on U.S. Military intelligence, economic, the relationship. They're incredibly dependent, and they have this incredibly important resource, right? And then they know that, of course. But I do think that they are worried about U.S. public opinion, just like every country should be worried. about U.S. public opinion, and they're going to change their behavior in accordance with U.S. public opinion. And U.S. public opinion towards Saudi Arabia is going to become worse if it's like, yeah, we back a country that still doesn't let women drive. There's going to be this, like they were incredibly repressive. They cut your head off if you're gay. You know, when you look at Saudi Arabia's history, like a recent history, they have not, I think, even though it's formally about the death penalty, they haven't utilized it for homosexual activity in decades, if I'm not mistaken, because that would be really bad press, and that could prevent, basically, from, well, they could create something similar to what happened to Batista, which I think we talked about last time, where with Batista, the dictator of Cuba, he was U.S. backed, and we had an economic interest in him. But because of his human rights abuses, we pulled, like almost exclusively, actually, because of his human rights abuses, we pulled back aid at the last minute, and Fidel Castro won the Cuban Civil War because of that. And so, yeah, I do think that countries have an interest in, like, well, we don't want to piss off the U.S., and a part of that is going to be we don't want to have the public opinion in the U.S. shift dramatically against us. Why do you think Israel's putting so much money into trying to, like, create media favorable towards them in the U.S.?
Trust me, I'm very yes, I get this.
Yes,
I
absolutely.
understand. Hold on. But like your framing it here matters. It actually does matter.
Sure.
Because like you start this portion saying that yes, the Saudi Arabia caved under U.S. pressure, as if the United States, on its own impetus, because it cared so fucking much about like women driving, that there was such immense pressure. No, this was yeah, again, I'm adding to what you're saying, right? But this addition is important. This was like pressure from within. This was like those protesters who bravely did what they did and suffered the consequences.
They would have destroyed them.
They did that.
It wasn't for us.
And then they got that international attention and from the American public, and then that stuff that you said kicks in, right? That matters,
sure,
because it's not because the U.S. doesn't give a fuck about these
right, but that's predictable, is what I'm saying. Like that reaction is going to be predictable. So when South Korea, for example, is dependent on U.S. Foreign policy, or U.S. Definitely South Korea is dependent on foreign aid from the U.S. They're going to want to make sure that they stay in the good graces of the U.S. public. They're going to want to, and the people that are going over to South Korea are people who are American. They're American-minded. The people they're buying from, the people they're dealing with. All of these things, and Congress listens to these people. Congress is going to listen to these capitalists and these people who are selling them shit and going over there, and that's going to be something that they care about because that's their constituents. If you're telling, like, I'm looking at it from a very realist perspective. I'm not saying that like a country is simply like a organized entity. It's a set of values and a set of like organization on paper. What I'm referring to with like the influence of America, what I'm referring to with that is our tremendous amount of power and influence on a country, and the more intertwined they become with our public, the more they're going to want to integrate with our public and make our public happy. And our public doesn't like it when gay people have their heads chopped off, or that women aren't allowed to drive. We don't like it. It's very repugnant to us.
Yes.
Or with exception to Ukraine, apparently, when a country just doesn't allow elections.
But hold on,
we don't like that either.
Hold on. But all this is fine. All this is
Trump
fine,
might like that.
right? As long as, right, the dictator, right, or the government in power, toes the U.S. line, right? Like provides the resources. If Saudi Arabia all of a sudden had a different stance, right, a radically different stance, you think the U.S. government would be concerned about all these putting pressure to be more democratic? No, they don't care about that. They knock over the government. If the next government was more repressive, they'd be happy with it. Whatever, right? Do we get our resources? Is that the case? Oh, well, then we'll tell the public whatever, right? Like we'll work with our new friends, right, to make sure the public of the Arabian public
we'll pressure them. Like, we'll still work with them. We'll
pressure
give them
who? The Arabian regime?
We'll give them leniency. Obviously, I'm not saying we don't give Saudi Arabia a lot of slack. Obviously, we're going to
give them
we'll
carte
work
blanche.
with them. We work with them. I think the idea that we don't influence them into a positive direction is false. I think that
they literally have slavery in their country right now.
Once again, I'm not denying that they're bad. but they are the best they've been now compared to
They
at
could
any
be so
point
much worse,
in their.
Ollie. That's the
Yes,
point.
literally.
Yeah, that's the argument. They could be worse, but they're 90% now.
But yeah, because
They're
all I'm
just not
talking about is
100%.
all I'm
Ooh.
talking about. I'm not trying to make like a moral proposition here necessarily. I'm simply describing right now what I see to be like a influence on a country, right? I think that the more a larger power has influence on a smaller power, the more that smaller power is going to want to adapt and change its policies to satisfy the larger power, right? This is the whole concept of soft power, right? When you have a country where it's like McDonald's wants to go in and do business and attach their logo and brand, when like all the major shipping companies are now involved, when there's U.S. businessmen and U.S. investors that are Americans that are putting money into these companies, right? And yes, all of that is going to cause a country to look at all of that investment, look at all of that involvement, and say, well, we obviously want to make these people happy.
Although investors don't give a fuck about like the human rights, like that just like it's not a thing.
They do because bad press is bad for business.
Well, yeah, but they do it.
We just don't do the press.
Companies go into those places and exploit and are part of the fabric of those countries, despite those records of poor human rights.
I know
it happens all the time.
Yes, I know it happens. The question is it an influence in the right direction? That's the only question here.
Sorry,
you guys seem to think that like the American public. Yeah, sure. So I'm an investor. You think I don't give I just don't care whatsoever? Like I would invest in Kim Jong-un tomorrow.
If your name is Gibbs, you don't.
Yeah, okay, but not most Americans aren't like Gibbs. You know this. Most Americans are going to be like, hey, like we have fucking people with septum piercings right now that are insisting on buying fair trade coffee.
They aren't investors. No.
I understand they're not investors, but some of them are. Some of them are investing in companies if they are sustainable, if they're ethical.
Are people like you, Lactoid, right? Who have only a tenuous care.
No, it's also other people. No, it's also other people.
I know. Investors care that line goes up. Investors in for that goal,
it's
right?
A big consideration, but that's not the only thing. No, that's not. That's a big. I know this because I invest in companies not entirely based on line goes up.
Executives will do horrors.
What else?
Here, let me give you an example. I intentionally do not invest in any company in China. That is a line that I have for myself.
So it's line go up, then ideology, then what comes after?
No. It's actually, technically, even if line goes up with a Chinese company, I don't invest in it.
I know. I said line goes up, ideology would be
some level of ideology, then line goes up, right? Because.
Great. No, China is perfect. China's perfect. China is fucking perfect. From my point, right? We've had conversations about exactly this, right? And in fact, you were on the other side of this previously. We talked about, for instance, the NBA. The NBA, who does games in China because China loves basketball, big fans, right? But like every so often, right, a person like a coach, right? The last time we talked about it was a coach, will say something about like people's freedoms, and maybe we should consider that in China, and then they get smacked down, because the investors don't like that, because the money doesn't like that. And so they go back for China, especially. China is it's so perfect because these U.S. companies, right? They went in. We're talking about the car companies. We're talking about tech companies. We're talking about a whole list of these things. They went to China, industry. And there was one stipulation that you are aware of, right? There was one stipulation to come to China. Hey, you have to have a partner company. There's a term for this. I forget what it is, right? But a partner, a company, a technology transfer company, or basically, you go in and this other company sponsors you, and part of the sponsorship is that you transfer your knowledge and your tech to them. You allow them to see everything, right? That was part. The U.S. companies for the line to go up, right? When like the rest of the industrialized world, the Western world, where their growth potential was slowing down, to get to those billion users in China, they went in there with this stipulation, right? And then what happened? Those companies learned everything they could, right? They got all that technology, they got all that experience, and then they created their own products that are competing those right now and kicking our asses. Those exact same companies, and you hear fucking American investors complaining about this. Oh, China's beating us, right? They're stealing from. Those companies handed over that technology. There is some espionage that happens too, right? But like those companies handed over that technology, and they did it for a line to go up, and investors were happy to do it, right? Don't bullshit me with this.
Can you name me a country that came under U.S. influence and then became more dictatorial over time?
That came under Venezuela.
Iran.
Like
Iran.
Venezuela,
No.
I mean, Iran. I mean,
Iran literally was.
Yeah.
We
They-
couped
yeah, they had-
Iran,
they-
and then
they-
after
yes,
the coup,
they had-
we got the dictator.
They had Reza.
Yeah,
Yes, they had Reza, but in terms of like human rights,
who was also
that was
a
actually
dictator.
Iran's best period. In fact, Western influence. This is a great
Wait,
actual
no,
example
wasn't
against.
their
No, no,
period
it-
before.
it
No, their
absolutely
period
compared to
before where
before
they had a democratically elected. My bad. I'm so tired.
Yeah, I know.
Democratically elected leader. That's where their
Reza-
time was better. Their time wasn't better after we couped them, which then led to the IRGC afterward after that coup.
You can
So
make the
no.
argument. Yeah, you can make the argument that the blowback led to a more dictatorial government because we lost influence. But
Yes,
during the period of time that
which
we
is a
had
direct result
influence-
of our influence.
Yes, you can make that argument.
then that's it,
I don't think it's a bad argument, but that's kind of sidestepping what my point is, which is that as long as a country remains in our influence, we're like U.S. pressure is going to try to push it into a correct direction.
No, we pushed them
or
into
into
a
or into a
dictatorship.
direction that is more along the lines of what we like to see. I
We
think it
pushed
was
them
I
into
think
a
I think it was
dictatorship
the
when they
I
had
think
a
it was the
democratically
king
elected leader, but
I
alright.
think it was the king of Iran that once bragged that the miniskirts in Tehran were shorter than the ones that were in Miami. If you look at videos and pictures from
fucking
Tehran
miniskirts.
during
Oh
this
my
time,
god, the fucking miniskirts.
yeah,
Come
if you look
on.
at yes, yeah, as opposed to now in which they're in bags and they get beaten. Yes.
And that's
No.
the direct result
Yeah.
of our
Yeah.
influence.
No, yes, in terms, yeah, there
So
was
then,
that leader.
no,
that
there's
leader,
a bunch of times where our
not
influence
listening.
leads to dictatorships.
You're not listening. I've explained what I mean by this.
I know.
You can make a kind of utilitarian analysis and say, hey, look, maybe we should be careful getting involved in XYZ situation because
Mhm.
the blowback, right? It could, if we lose control, it could lead to worse circumstances, right? This is a fine argument.
Wait, if we
Okay.
decide the
This
circumstances,
is a good
are
calculation.
No. Okay, so if we decide the circumstances,
What?
so they had a democratically elected leader, but then we installed a king. So, like, for the people, a king is better than a democratically elected leader. You believe this?
If that's the only analysis, but if you look at everything else
I mean,
they do,
we're talking about this specific analysis. So yeah,
no, you're pointing to one particular element.
Yes.
Do you think that whether or not a country is a democratic government is the only measure of whether or not the people there have rights? Like if I had
I
a
think it's a pretty
dictator,
big measure.
here,
I think it's a
let
pretty
me
big
okay,
measure.
let me ask you straight up. Two countries. One country has an elected leader, the other country has like a dictator. Country A is like North Korea style. You can't say anything without going in a fucking cage, without disappearing into a gulag, blah, blah, blah. And then the second country, country B, it's a dictator, but you have free speech, you have due process, women aren't in bags,
so you have democracy
and they don't get
in the
beaten.
dictatorship, but not democracy in the you know.
Some people can vote for oppressive policies. Of course, Hitler was, played by the rules when he got into power. You can have people select people that do crazy shit.
And it wasn't oppressive for the majority of people; it was oppressive towards a specific group of people, right? It was the majority, it was the minority that was oppressive to the people voted for the people voted for the majority to oppress the minority. So yeah, Hitler was an oppressive regime, but it was beneficial to the majority of people at the time. It was beneficial to the Germans, not beneficial to anyone who wasn't German.
Or yeah, certain key groups, sure.
So it can be a dictatorial regime or a democracy that you voted for that's oppressive, but it's not oppressive to you. That's different than what you're.
No, I know it was oppressive to everybody. Hitler's once he came into power, Hitler implemented the Enabling Acts, which allowed him to just make up law. And the laws that were enforced were, yes, they were incredibly repressive against minority groups, but they were also repressive against like your standard white Aryan German. He didn't have free speech anymore. He couldn't go out and have conversations about certain things. He was limited in how he could interact with the country economically. He was repressed too. Much less so than like Jewish people, obviously.
Yeah, and I would say the goal of that would be so you could eliminate the threat, and then now afterwards you would get your freedoms and you'd get your things back. This is a temporary hold and a temporary law because we're fighting an enemy within.
That is an argument that many people at war make.
So it's like.
But that wasn't the argument that wasn't happening with Hitler
it.
though. That wasn't what was happening with Hitler though, because the economic repression happened before World War II started. Because Hitler came into power in the 1934, 1933, around this time, And so we have like a period of several years prior to World War II beginning in 1939,
where people believed in the cause and then voted for him to be in
yes,
power.
he had his cultish sycophants for sure who were like, yes, let's
he
give up our
had
freedoms.
Majority vote.
Sure, of people who were willing to give up freedoms
temporarily. Because
no, not temporarily. Because
so once the threat's eliminated, we keep
because they believed in like some fundamental ideology that didn't prioritize freedom. These people exist.
Yes, but
they
then
don't
afterwards,
care.
Once they have their Aryan nation, they get their freedoms back. Why would you still live in a repressive society?
Because they think it's better. Because they think oppressive society in this case is better. They think
when
it's
good towards minorities, not when it's towards them.
Stop. There are plenty of people, like right now, you can find me, who want to vote to create laws banning things that would affect even them. Like I've met people that want to ban alcohol, despite the fact they drink, and they want that permanent. They don't want that to stop after some war. They want that to be permanent going forward. They are now repressed in this way.
People
this is
who
what they
drink.
want.
So you know hypocrites who drink but want alcohol to be banned.
Yes, plenty of them.
And this is someone I'm meant to take seriously, or is it enough of a vote?
No,
I mean, enough of the country
I know plenty
of
people
that don't exist in mass.
I disagree. I know I'm sorry. Most Muslims I know that do drugs want drugs to be banned.
Yeah.
Okay, but this is like a significant
group
of people.
Not if they do drugs.
Yes, even if they do drugs. Absolutely.
Okay.
And in Germany, the repression really came in many different ways, but towards, I guess, the majority population in large part with the economic repression that happened under the Nazi Party's rule. Incredibly firm, nationalizing certain industries, putting corporate thugs and corporate puppets into certain areas, and then privatizing them, but making them linked to the loyalty of the party, right? And mass propaganda.
What was the stated goal of that party, though? End goal. It wasn't to continuously just be a repressive regime. It was to provide people. It was to provide people an Aryan nation to which they can be free, where they control themselves, and then you wouldn't have things you would complain about. Sure. But like the idea was that like you were building towards an Aryan nation, and once you have this pure nation, then why would you have the people be repressed? People wouldn't continuously vote to be repressed if their nation is clean. There's no reason for reprisal.
Yeah, it's just not necessarily the case that people will support something only if the repression will end at some point in the foreseeable future. Stalin maintained power following World War II. Mao Zedong committed most of his atrocities following World War II. I agree with you that war is often a great smokescreen that people can use to like, hey, we have to implement XYZ repressive thing. But no, I reject this idea that like, well, look, I mean, Nazi Germany would have, been more free for the white Aryan German if only they had won the war. If only they had won the war. I don't believe that.
Well, unfortunately, the goal would be like world domination at that point. If you win the war, then world domination. So like really, you don't get it until the world is. So I get what you're saying, and I kind of agree to an extent, as in like you're going to be in a repressive regime forever because you're not going to win, right?
Yeah, you can always set the goal to be you can always set the goal to be like some unachievable thing after the fact.
You only get the people to do that if within that is the belief that you're one getting rid of an enemy, and two that like them being oppressed at the time will benefit them in the future.
I don't think that's true, but I don't think that's true. But once again, you can simply define a new enemy always in the future. So for all intents and purposes, it's no different. Regardless,
I mean, that's what we're
even
doing
if
with
you're
Trump right now.
Jesus.
We have the 47-year enemy. We're getting a lot of jokes about the fourth term or the third term, right? Like a lot of jokes. And if we follow suit with other countries that we were allied with, right? And like Bibi doesn't drop Ukraine, Vladimir. He sees Vladimir, and he hasn't fucking held an election. He sees Putin, he hasn't held an election. He's looking at all these leaders, and he's like, well I get to do this thing.
So, Putin has had.
I want to get back to the actual.
Go ahead,
it's fine. So like first talking about countries that have suffered democratic backslides under
our influence.
Under our influence. Okay. Well, there would be multiple ones, right? So, there would be South Vietnam. South Vietnam became like a totalitarian. It was like a mess after the coup. Was it in 1963, I believe? Was a coup, but a period of totalitarianism. My understanding there was. This is the one that Lactoid loves, right? Chile, under Pinochet. That was widely considered up for people other than libertarians to be a fucking disaster in terms of human rights. There was Iran, and oh yeah, we'll start with that.
Sure. South Vietnam, I don't believe became worse. It was never democratic. I don't think from the beginning. It was a French colony, and you had civil war breakout, and yeah, you had the French come back in, try to reassert control. They failed, and then there was certain proto-states that developed, and one of those kind of states was South Vietnam, another one was North Vietnam, which were essentially perpetually in war. For South Vietnam was in war during its entire existence. I'm not convinced that our influence there de-democratized them. From my understanding, it's been a while since I've read into this, but in fact, a lot of the leaders, because we were so involved that they their leaders basically had to make us happy in order to kind of get the pass by us. That there were leaders that were, if they were too brutal and they were too anti-democratic, that we figured out ways to get rid of them and to try to replace them with more moderates. I think there was 2 times that happened, but I'll have to look more into that and get you the exact names. So I'm not convinced about that one. Chile, I
say Pinochet. I mean, yeah.
I know you meant Pinochet. So Allende was he was the leader. And I'm not saying that I don't remember if the election was rigged or not, but he was the leader, and Chile was struggling pretty bad, economically speaking, and they were also aligning with the Soviet Union. There was absolutely a coup by Pinochet and his forces, or forces that I think then shortly afterwards Pinochet came into power. And the CIA denies it, but I mean, of course, they're going to fucking deny it. It's probable that the U.S. was involved in that somehow. And it's definitely true that following the coup, the state of Chile came under U.S. influence very strongly. Pinochet was pro-West. He aligned the country very strongly with U.S. interests. And since then, the country has improved pretty dramatically. Throughout Pinochet's, there was initial significant repression under Pinochet. Now Chile is, I think, the wealthiest country in South America, if I'm not mistaken. Has the strongest record on human rights of any country in South America, and has the highest rates of economic liberalism, standard of living, et cetera, et cetera. Like on all the metrics, it's gotten considerably better. And when you look at the path that they were on beforehand, with the economic repression being put forward by Allende, I don't think I understand why you bring that example, because you're saying, well, here's a country that's not in the U.S. influence, and then there's like a coup in which now they're under our influence. Even if they get better under our influence to the point now where they're better than they had ever been before, wasn't there that bump during the coup? Wasn't there that bump in non-liberalism during the coup?
Being massive, also repression,
sure, massive oppression, absolutely, torture. But again, this is irrelevant to the point that I made, which is that a country under our influence, that country that is under our influence,
but what do you mean by under
is going to democratize?
So
under our control.
But just let me. I want you to answer Corey's question in a second. But like this presents a problem. The way you're structuring your argument, right? You're like, well, yeah, there's repression. Yeah, there's brutal beatings, there's the disappearances, there's the torture, right? Yeah. That does happen under these countries. But then afterwards, on a long enough time scale, they trend to things to a better democracy. And then you say, oh, that's US influence. Well, that's why that happened. Right. And again, this goes back to our conversation on Iran, right? Like it's the individuals, sorry, not Iran, excuse me, Saudi Arabia. it's the individuals there who are doing the work on the ground, right? The CIA isn't doing the work on the ground to enhance the civil rights of these nations, right? You just like give that over, and you say it must be the U.S.
No, they are. Look at the
That's
countries
why.
that aren't under. Look at what happened. Look at North Korea, for example. When they don't answer to us whatsoever. In fact, they're under the thumb of China. They're not democratizing. They're not getting better. They're just not. There's no pressure to, because the country that they are primarily economically intertwined with, which is China, doesn't pressure them to do that, because they themselves are not responsive to the will of the people. They themselves aren't
Look at the
democratic.
UAE. I don't know, man. Like,
yeah. Again. Look, if you want to make the argument, which I think is a fair argument, that the initial increase in repression, or like the coup, or any of the stuff, the juice isn't worth the squeeze. You can make that argument, and I think there's examples you can put forward that are true. Like a big one being Iraq. I don't think Iraq is a good situation because of the overall geopolitical ramifications and all the shit that happened following this. Or Libya, in fact. You can point to examples where, and I wouldn't say Libya or Iraq are really all that under our influence. I think what happened with Iraq is they kind of shifted under Iranian influence. But we expected them to be under our influence when we did Operation Iraqi Freedom, and we failed. And now now that whole thing was a fucking for nothing. The whole thing was a big waste. So you can point to plenty of examples of failure, and you can even make the argument that like it wasn't worth it in Vietnam, or you can make the argument it wasn't worth it in Korea if you want. You can make the argument that it wasn't worth it in Taiwan. My only point here is why, for me, the calculation is, okay, a country under U.S. Control, imperialistic control, is over time going to slowly liberalize. Because of its association with our economic and our political structures, and its desire to make to satisfy our economic and our political structures. If this is done correctly, and we see a significant amount of liberalization and expansion of liberal values in a certain area, can it be worth it? And I think it can be. That's the analysis I'm going in with. So I think it was successful in Japan. Which, I mean, let's start with there. Let's start with the easy examples. Do you think that Japan is better off now under our influence than it was prior?
Certainly.
Okay. And I would say this easy one, another easy one, right? Germany. I think we would agree on that one as well, right? Sure. Better afterwards than before. I think Korea. I think that South Korea is better off than it would have been under the rule of the North. Pretty considerably so. Do you disagree with that?
Again, these are the extraction poor places, but yeah.
Sure. Yeah. What I'm pointing to is like you can go through, but you could have somebody say, well, look how many people that died in the Korean War. I think 95% of all like residences or buildings in the North were destroyed. Thousands, hundreds of thousands of people were killed brutally.
Famine and stuff,
napalm, famines. You can make the argument. You can look at all that and say, look, North Korea or the Korean War wasn't worth it, and that can be a valid position. We can make that argument. You can look at Pinochet and say, look, the repression that came with getting that guy into power, that wasn't worth it. You can look at perhaps Chiang Kai-shek in Taiwan. Like you can make all these. I understand you can make all these arguments, but for me, like when I'm balancing all these different factors, like the numbers coming out positive when it comes to Japan, Germany, Korea, Taiwan, the number, it could be positive, but it's not when it came to Vietnam. When it comes to Vietnam, and the number is not positive when it comes to Iraq or Libya or Ukraine. It's not positive.
But there was heavy economic investment in Japan by the United States, and also
there was in Vietnam, and there was in Vietnam, and there was in Korea, and there was in Taiwan, and there was in Iraq.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know the numbers, but I don't know if it was as much as like what Japan and Germany got.
Yeah,
but I mean that goes to his point, though, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. We're talking about influence here. I mean, the amount of influence that we exerted in Japan is unlike anything else, I think. In modern
they are essentially the puppet of
well, more than that. I mean,
it's even more than that.
It was the U.S. military that was the U.S. military was running the country. We were like the army was the government, and we changed their language first of all. So the schools had to start they changed literally how it was written in order to better favor U.S. interests. We changed their entire police system. We changed all the local governance. We rewrote that whole country, and then they based their constitution off of ours. That was a fundamentally restructured country than from beforehand. And I mean, I think that's in the country in which we influence most. Look at how good they're doing, and they're kicking ass.
Well,
yeah. Again,
I mean,
hold on. Sorry, you go first.
they definitely punch above the weight class. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I'll be interested to see how it's going to play out over the next 50 years. But but it
Well,
sounds
if only
like
they'd start fucking more.
well, that holds true for
That's
or they start importing.
Yeah, or they
people,
become
right?
less bigoted
Open up
against
immigration,
non-Japanese
right? We'll do
people.
the fucking.
That one's a hard one to get rid of. Okay,
But
we've been trying that one for a while.
So, but it sounds like if I'm understanding correctly, like you consider Saudi Arabia under U.S. influence, or am I misunderstanding? Yeah. Okay.
Yes, of course.
Then, do you consider do you consider China under U.S. influence?
No.
Or rather, I'll frame it as in currently you consider China under U.S. influence.
I think China's big enough they're a competitor.
Okay, but then if I rewind the clock 30 years ago, would you consider China under U.S. influence? As in, so China was never under U.S. influence in your estimation? Okay.
Never. In fact, 30 years ago, they were much less economically open than they are now.
I don't disagree there.
Yeah. And we saw that. I think when they began opening up, we saw that as a potential way to gain influence. But they're so big and powerful that have been able to become a weight. They've developed their own gravity.
Over time, I agree with you there. But like, then what makes you conclude, or what's like the variable that says, well, Saudi Arabia is under U.S. influence?
I don't think they have the same level of power. I don't think unlike China, they can't reasonably challenge us. They are dependent on us. China's not geopolitically. China's geopolitical interests are opposite to ours, and they don't have to play ball with us.
Okay, so aside from maybe China as like more or less like the second global superpower, like you then by that criteria, just about every other country is under U.S. influence.
No. I think there's plenty of countries in Africa that are under Chinese influence. I think there's some countries that are under Russian influence.
But at least you put the criteria as like as long as you, unless I'm misunderstanding of like if you have the strength to push back, and then you're not under U.S. influence, like what other country has the strength to push back other than China?
I mean, Russia, China, India.
You think India has meaningful power to? What do you mean by power to push
India
back?
is a player in the game?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know that.
In what?
I never knew India was a player in the game.
Who do you think they're a puppet of? Who are they under?
Well, no, I'm just trying to find like what you like. You put Saudi Arabia under the influence of U.S. and you pretty much like defined it. If I'm understanding, it, like, well, they just don't have the power to like not be under U.S. influence.
Yeah.
But that
but they need us
as in like militarily or like economically or both.
Both. In their particular position, especially militarily.
So I don't disagree there, but then wouldn't that there's
China's
might be a case to me. Sure, but then that's where it's like, doesn't every other country fit that criteria then?
No, I don't think so.
And wait, for Saudi,
you think India would stand a chance against U.S. military power?
No. What I'm saying is that we don't have the ability to influence India in the same way we do with Saudi Arabia. It's not just about like being able to withstand a full-scale invasion.
Yeah, but
it has to do with are they able to withstand us?
Why?
Sure, because they're big. Because they're economically large, because they've got a shit ton of people, because militarily they're large, they have they're a nuclear state, they have a space program, they are a big player, and people underestimate them, but they are a big player, and they have a gravity of themselves, and when you get that big, you start having your like interests that are independent of other countries, right? And so when you're small and you're a satellite of another country, you kind of you can do some little shit on your own, but you have to go along with what your bigger neighbors tell you in many scenarios. So like there's things that Mexico is limited on doing because of us. There are things that Belarus is limited because of Russia. There are things that Nepal is limited to do because of India. And there's things that North Korea is limited to do because of China. Like, yeah, these smaller countries that are dependent, that rely on their larger gravity wells are going to be dependent and influenced by those larger countries. Of course. Saudi Arabia is influenced by us. We have a tremendous amount of influence in that country. We are their main suppliers, unlike India, which buys most of their shit from Russia. But for us, Saudi Arabia is buying. Yeah, Saudi Arabia is buying most of their shit from us. They're economically dependent on us. What other countries going to sell them what they need?
With China, whatever, maybe 20, 30 years ago, as well.
I don't think
maybe 10,
I
15
don't think so. I think that even before they economically opened to the world, their sheer size and the political and military independence they had from the rest of the world, they were never really under the control of any other country. And I think that the mistake was there was some U.S. people who were thinking, well, and really goes back to Nixon. They were thinking, well, we can bring China under our control, without realizing that they were too big.
But like you can, because if I'm understanding your criteria correctly, which it mostly seems to stem from like if you more or less like have some sort of military power that you're able to push back, or like you can't like be bullied through force. Like I would say, arguably, like that would be China like 50 years ago, as in like I don't think China meaning or less. Well, let's say before they developed nukes, I guess would be your criteria.
No, even before nukes. So there was documents that were leaked where, because pretty shortly so the Soviet Union and China did not get along actually for most of their existence, despite the fact they were both nominally communist. And there were some when the Soviet Union fell, there was some declassified documentation in which there was a discussion among top Soviet leaders about what to do with China, because they were genuinely like fearful, and they thought like, okay, we got to be careful because we have nuclear weapons and China doesn't. At this time, that this was the case. That was lopsided because the Soviet Union were the second country to get nuclear weapons, and there was consideration of nuking China by the top Soviet leaders. But what they were concerned about is if we nuke them, there's going to be millions upon millions upon millions of PLA soldiers streaming across our border, and we aren't going to be able to handle that even with nuclear weapons. There is too much conventional force with the Chinese for us to get involved. And this is the Soviet Union, which at this point is the second most powerful country on the planet.
Global superpower.
Probably at this point the strongest like ground army in the entire world. And they don't want to deal with the mass hordes of Chinese soldiers streaming across their border. Yeah, China was never under the thumb of another country.
Okay, so
besides maybe during the Opium Wars.
Well, sure, but they had, fair enough. But then, arguably, that was China, at least let's say in the last 80 years, more or less at one of its weakest points, or it's only gotten stronger since then. Is that a fair description?
Yeah, I think China's. Yeah, I think so. It's whenever. Yeah, I think China's only gotten stronger since then. Okay. So, I think that it's. You can pick any point in history and say that it's its weakest point than the year after, and that's probably true. If we're talking about post World War II.
Yeah. Okay. Fair. Yeah. Post World War II. So then, like, today, like, then it should be more or less like at least. I know you're not necessarily saying this, or at least maybe saying the opposite, but like some of the rhetoric is like, well, China would never stand a chance against U.S. military power and might, and that like. I'm pretty sure Gibbs has made or will make that argument. True. Okay.
I think China's a credible threat, and we should start taking them as a credible threat.
I don't know. I hear the talking point that U.S. is leaps and bounds in terms of military technology. You have your super drones that are probably manufactured in China anyways, or some parts. And
look at what happened in Venezuela. The China tech couldn't even do anything to our disruptors. That's the
look. We kick ass. Don't get me wrong, but I think it is the height of hubris to say, well, we can just waltz in and just kick ass. Fighting, depending on what kind of you can be in a war against a wildly inferior opponent in terms of training, technology, all that shit, and
I agree.
It can be hard to win, right? If Afghanistan is not a fucking lesson about that, then I don't know what is.
It's not a lesson for Gibbs. I mean,
Gibbs, so what are we gonna invade China? We couldn't bring Afghanistan under our heel in 20 years, and we're gonna invade China.
It wasn't a lesson to Donald Trump, and here we are. So let's
I don't think any American presidents learned that lesson, to be clear.
Yeah, fair enough. Hey, actually, that works for my politics. Yeah, they don't.
Lock them all up.
Every American president's like, we'll do it right this time. We'll just gotta.
Yeah, exactly. I know. I'm smart enough.
Hey, Gibbs wanted another 20 years in Afghanistan. He thinks they weren't there long enough.
I know.
I will actually. I'm sorry.
Just another 3 trillion.
One of my most imperialist takes. Okay. All right. Here it goes. Right. Here's one of my most imperialist takes. Actually, yeah. I mean, to actually do it right. You have to do because Afghanistan is such I'm using this in the lightest way possible, a foreign, right, foreign culture, right? So it's like they're so distinct and so different from the culture that we're trying to impose, right? Yeah, actually you have to be there for a long time. Like for Japan, right? Like if we had left in like 20 years in Japan, would Japan be what it is like now? Like would it have like evolved in the same way that our friend Lactwood pointed out? Like what we did in Japan is that it was like multiple generations, right? It was a generation that like got invaded and lost, right? Then it was their kids who were like, all right, well, like working out their feelings about that whole situation. And then it was their kids who were like, yeah, man, it's cool. Like, I don't know, I'm not being oppressed, so it's fine, right? So like in Afghanistan, Afghanistan, there was a generation that got oppressed. The next generation was the one with like the kids who were like getting access to education and schooling. Those girls, right, who had a chance to go to school at that time, and they were building careers, right? And then the generation after that would have been the one where like people would have thought like they would have the only thing they knew would have been American rule, right? Or Western values, like however you define that, right? So actually, yeah, I think it's kind of right. If we're actually going to do the thing, if we're saying we're going to like rewrite the culture, yeah, it actually can't be done in 20 years. So
yeah, but you actually have to put in an effort to do it. Like in Afghanistan, I don't think we did really. I mean, you're right. There was some change, like under our influence, we did like push some things, like women get to go to school, right? That was a huge thing that the Taliban rolled back. And yeah, that's going to be great for I think a lot of the women. But here's the unfortunate reality: women aren't the best fighters, and when you have the Taliban that are these religious fanatics that are particularly adept, it appears, at fighting compared to basically any other force that was on the ground there besides us. And then we leave, and then this kind of fake, incompetent, drug-addled Afghan National Army gets rolled in a matter of weeks. It's clear that the actual will to maintain this among the people of Afghanistan, it wasn't there. It wasn't there in the way we thought it was. It was probably there amongst like the women, like the little girls. Sure. Yeah. The will was probably amongst them. Unfortunately, they didn't stand a chance against Taliban.
Saying, but that doesn't like take away from my point, because the point is that like those people, the people who are in that military in quotes, right? The group of people who we like gave a few guns to, the people there didn't have a sense of national like unity, right? Like they have a sense of, well, the Americans are paying me to stand here, right, to like man this checkpoint. That's it. It didn't go any farther than that.
We didn't run Japan for more than 20 years, I don't think.
I mean, like we had American bases the entire time.
No, I understand, but like, so we my understanding is we directly ruled it, but it wasn't. I forget exactly how long it was for, but it was not 20 years. And then the government afterwards was like under our influence, in like military, like economically and everything. Yeah. But when it came to like Afghanistan, I mean, I think that the biggest problem with that is, I don't know. I just think that they're different. I think it's harder to.
All this works with my point. Japan has a strong sense of national identity, period, right? Like at the time, that was part of the problem. They had a really strong sense of national identity, right? Afghanistan, they don't on that same way, right? Like it's broken down, from my understanding. Hopefully I'm not saying something too stupid. I do apologize if I say something wrong, right? But like they have like a lot of tribal affiliations that supersedes national affiliation, right? And then there's like the porous border with Pakistan. There's not like people on one side of that border, right? Like I am absolutely Afghani, right? Afghani is what I am, and I'm gonna defend Afghanistan. No, the people along that border were like, this is just our area. This is our ancestral lands. No line that like some Westerner drew is gonna stop me. And they're back and forth, and they don't care about like each government at all, right? So I'm saying, like in that situation, it takes more work. Yeah, it takes a lot more work. You have to like build that national identity. You have to instill those values, and then you need several generations to like die, and then and to grow up in there to make that change. I mean, I'm not again. That was just my imperialist take. If you don't, I don't want to be there in the first place.
You're probably right. I'm just saying it's too much. Like. It's so too much to do.
I hear you. Why we shouldn't have done it? And because now things are worse actually for those women than they were before the invasion. So yeah, great, we did it. But so I want to go back to that argument before. My problem with the argument, friend, your central thesis, because like I hear you. I hear what you're saying is that okay. Well, I look at the landscape of these countries, right, and there is a subset of these countries anyway, who I see their outcomes, right? With the benefit of hindsight, I can see their outcomes. And well, I look into the past, there's that US invasion, right? Calamity ensues because, well, of course, right? But then afterwards,
not just invasion to be clear, but yeah.
Yeah, fair. Okay. But then afterwards, they flourish, right? And you look at that time span, right? Well, the commonality that I see is the U.S., and so it must be the U.S. doing this. One, I think that just ignores again the ones that like are resource rich, who don't get that treatment, who there's barely any democratic movement towards, right? Like advancement of civil liberties, right? I think that just ignores that. But like the thing that that bothers me about your argument is that like you're ignoring blowback. You're like, okay, well, if Iran, like things would have been better, but for right, like the Ayatollah, right, and them leaving our sphere of influence, right. But the blowback is part of the process.
I'm not ignoring blowback.
It sounds okay. Well, all right. It sounds like you are. I'll let you.
Yeah, I am absolutely. When I'm making like a calculation, I'm absolutely calculating the risk of blowback. To be clear.
Okay.
Like, there's the phenomenon of like general democratization and economic liberalization that happens when a country's under our influence, but then there's this risk of a blowback that always needs to be factored in. We didn't see that with Korea because I think we did that better. We haven't seen that with Japan or Germany because I think we did that better. We haven't seen that when it comes to Taiwan. So yeah, I think that, but in areas, but it doesn't always go right, and there are areas in which we're more reckless. I think that it does lead to blowback. I think that we saw blowback in Iraq.
Again,
Libya.
The places you point out to, which goes back to my original, well, not my
our
original.
economic, okay, Germany. I'll pick a resource-rich country.
Sorry. Okay, I don't look at Germany as a resource-rich country. Maybe I'm missing something. What is it? The big thing we're exporting?
All those resources. What steel? Is it massive steel producers? The Ruhr is like a particularly resource-rich area they control.
The Ruhr. Sorry, the Ruhr. I don't know what the Ruhr is. I apologize.
It's a region. It's a region of Germany.
Oh, the Ruhr.
No. Ruhr. R-U-H-R.
R-U-H-R. Okay, yeah.
It's a region of Germany.
It's a resource. It's a region, and it has resources, and that's what does it have?
I don't exactly know. All I know is that Germany is not a research port.
I'm not trying to do a gotcha. Like that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to understand.
Well, so yeah. I don't actually know, but I do know. I think we're all on the same page that Germany does do a lot of car manufacturing. Like,
but that's not a resource though. That's not.
But that's not. Well, I'm saying like, are we under the impression that everything that they need to build cars is coming externally?
It could.
Germany. It's possible. I'm asking the question. I don't actually know. Like, but I'm like. It's reasonable for me to think that probably there's some amount of resources to do all that comment is coming from Germany, but it could
but to call it like resource rich, as in like it's this like
I mean, like
it's like like they have resources, sure, but are they like are we looking at them and be like we should take them over for their resources like we do other places? Like, do we need to be in more control of them because of like the amount of resources they have? It doesn't seem like it.
Yeah. So I'm going to give you space to look that up. And again, like my point isn't to quiz you on like Germany and like try to embarrass you or something. That's not what I'm trying to do here. It's just that like steel. I mean, yeah, the U.S. has steel. Like the U.S. has been a mass producer of steel. And we
also have oil. Like, the number one exporter of oil.
I think the United States imports most of its steel. I don't think.
Yeah, well, from China. Yeah, we get most of our steel from China
and
now.
Canada as well. Although I think mostly from China. Like because it's like
Germany is rich in natural resources: timber, lignite, potash, which is a kind of salt.
Potash, yeah. Canada is also rich in that.
Salt, and then regular salt.
Yeah, again, that's what I'm saying. The things that you're talking about, right? Like are easily attainable other places, right? Like that's not
oil is
that-
attainable other places.
But it's more valuable than all those
it's far more
like minerals that
valuable,
you were
right? Like,
stating, right? That's like the issue.
Where does so it has some oil, right? Okay, well then well, let me just ask you this because I don't know, right? Where does it stack up in terms of like oil reserves? Is it like really high up there? If so, then that maybe changes things.
Wait, Germany? I don't think Germany has a lot of oil.
Okay. Oh, that's why I was okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah. So the value of I think the value of its resources. There are a few places that have like no resources when we're talking about extraction, right? But there are places that have a lot of a resource that's like wildly valuable that like is difficult to get in many of the places, like coltan. Coltan is one of those resources. That's mostly an Africa thing, right? There's a lot of, I believe, in the Congo, but maybe I'm wrong about that. One of those nations, right? But like that resource is in like all computer chips. It's like it's everywhere. Sorry.
Go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Thought you were done.
No worries, friend. But almost done. The point is that like those resources that are like highly valuable and difficult to get in other places, right? Like, yeah, it's true that you can get oil in other places, but like America needs Middle Eastern oil because all oil isn't the same, right? It's the way we talk about it is that it's a simple commodity, right? But not all oil that comes from the ground is the same, right? So there's like sweet oil, there's sour oil, there's light crude, there's heavy crude, and the type of crude that you're dealing with like determines like which plant you can send it to. And the U.S., crazy enough, is not its plants aren't well geared to the oil that it has under its ground. And so it ends up importing a lot of that oil. There's historical reasons for that. So like, it's a whole thing. But the point is that like, yeah, so we still need those other oils, other places. And that particular resource is extremely valuable, more valuable like per like, I don't know, like cubic square, cubic meter of, I don't know, than like timber, than potash or that other stuff. I said a lot of stuff. Hopefully that
it's possible. I mean, well, I'm not gonna be able to contend with the whole like certain oil is more valuable than other oils because I understand that to be true, but like that's way too granular for me to like get into all the details as to like the exact amount of So okay. I'm just looking at a list here of like the countries by crude oil extracted. We're number 1 at 13,000. Well, a lot more than that. It's okay. The math is so it's 13,246,000 barrels a day.
So it's like whatever billions or
something like that.
Millions, yeah. Large number.
Yeah. Big number. And then Saudi Arabia is at 10,000. Russia's at 10,000. Canada's at 5,000. So Saudi Arabia absolutely under our influence. And even though maybe we just disagree on this, I think that they're very repressive. I think they've been getting less repressive under our influence, even though they are still repressive. I don't disagree. They are still repressive, and we still back them. Russia is not under our influence. They're at 10,000. Canada is under our influence, but they've been democratic for plenty of time. 5,000. China, not under our influence, 4,000. Of course, we should. Iraq, not under our influence, I don't think, really. I think they're more under Iranian influence, 4,000. Iran, 4,000, not under our influence. UAE, 4,000, they are. Brazil is at 4,000. I mean, Brazil has a long history of being associated with the U.S., and I think Brazil's overall government's not particularly repressive.
Again, but you say that, but like, is that due to the United States, right? You just say like, well, it must be. That was the United States, but we have others on that list that, like, are more firmly under the sphere of influence. By that I mean more direct, like, interventions than Brazil is, and they are worse off.
Let me read a little bit about Brazil.
Yeah. Okay. So to everyone, like, so what this started off as, and our friend Ali wasn't here at the beginning, right? I asked our friend Lactoid, what wars, American wars, was he in favor of? And then we kind of like diverged from that into a discussion on like what is the outcome of American influence after these wars, right? After, and not just after these wars, but like in general, like American influence onto the world, and American neo-colonialism, or however you want to describe it. And so like we're going back and forth here. And I think, again, this is just my general thesis, is that like America actually doesn't really care. Not that America doesn't ever have a positive influence, right? But like also, and even then, when we're talking about America, we have to be clear what we're talking about, because like that does a lot, right? Just that word does a lot. Like, are we talking about the American government? Like, what is the American? What are these governments actually trying to do, or what kind of pressures are putting on, right? Or are we talking about like the American people and pressure that comes from them? Like is it an impetus by the government, or is it impetus by the people? I mean, and there's a clear difference between that, right? We see that in Gaza. The people overall like want us out, right? Whether they care about the Gazas or not, they don't want involvement in this. But the government has otherwise. If you break it more even further down by party, right? When the Democratic president was in office, he ignored his Democratic base and kept on with the genocide support. So like there's a clear difference between the American people and then the government. And so like we have to figure that out. And then, I mean, if you want to even go further down this, which I won't drag you guys down, like we'd have to like, it'd be interesting to look more about at administrations, right? Like under Democratic rule and under Republican rule, is there a marked difference, right? Are some is the Democrats more likely to be like responsive to these civil rights violation? I would probably say yes. Actually, overall, Biden being an exception, he's a horrible genocide supporter. But like overall, like, yeah, I think there's an effort. There's an effort to be better, where Republicans don't really care. But again, like we don't have to go hard on that road. Did you find what you were looking for, Lactoid?
I mean, what I'm reading here is that the U.S. did put substantial pressure, because Brazil was under a dictatorship, and there was substantial pressure put from the U.S. on Brazil to democratize. We restricted our military assistance to them because we had, under the Carter administration, we tied military assistance specifically to human rights performance. Yeah. So if there was like, if a country didn't behave well from a human rights perspective, we cut them off from like and I mean, again, who was it before Kennedy? Eisenhower did this too when it came to cutting off Batista from military aid because of Batista's human rights record. So there's been multiple presidents here who did cut off countries or pressure countries into becoming more democratic and to cease human rights abuses through restricting military assistance, through diplomatic and political pressure. The big thing is restricting economic and military assistance, I think.
I think to summarize things, to boil it down, and we can move off of this.
And then I want to say one more thing about Ukraine after that.
Sure.
After you're done.
I'll give you the last word. My through line is that overall, like, imperialism wins the day. That like we will have exceptions, right? Where the U.S. will push for more democracy, but for overall, like in general, the U.S. doesn't actually really care. I think there's also like movements to support these other nations, right? And like push U.S. government to take certain actions, which I think to a certain extent goes to our friend Lactoid's point, is that like, well, it's part of the American culture, right? Even if it doesn't come from the American government, it's part of the American culture, and like overall, like that has a net positive influence. But like I that hmm, that is distinct from the point that I was trying to make, right? This is why I just made efforts to like divide these two. The American government as an overall entity, right? Um, uh, True, there have been different people in charge of the American government. We have different administrations, but there is there's organizational inertia, right? There are incentives that cross those ideological boundaries, and the incentives is like imperialist rule, and not necessarily a democratic flourishment. That is always secondary or tertiary or further down that list. If it happens, it's a benefit, and a president will take credit, right? If they can somehow tie themselves to these things, and that's great, right? Carter probably was better than most others, so shout out to Carter. But like again, exception to the rule. Overall, the trend line is the thing that I'm trying to identify, right? Just like our friend Lactoid, trying to identify a trend line. I see the trend line is towards imperialism and extraction, and as long as that's being met, everything else be damned. But like that.
So fundamentally, I am a realist when it comes to geopolitical analysis. I believe that foundationally countries are going to act within their interest in whatever is good for what their country wants, essentially. So this whole discussion, I have not been trying to say that like the US is entirely ideologically motivated, that it's going to, not take opportunities to expand its power and expand its resource base, just because, it might not maximize democracy in this particular situation. That's not the point I'm trying to make. The point I'm trying to make is that the US, just like any other country in the world, prioritizes its interests first. It prioritizes its power first, and it prioritizes its sustainability first. That is what it's primarily aimed to do. That is what the whole structure is geared to do on an international level. However, countries that become under the influence of these powers, who are pursuing this for their own real interests, tend to take on the character because of the economic attachment and exchange that happens, and the demographic exchange that happens, and the cultural and social exchange that happens. This tends to occur, and you start to see over time the people of that country, because again they're under our influence, begin to democratize and begin to economically liberalize. This does not mean it's worth it in every case. This does not mean that there can't be blowback that you can consider. That does not mean that there could be circumstances that make things worse because of XYZ situation. And when it comes to Ukraine specifically, as I've been clearly in every debate I've ever had, the reason why I think it's a failed experiment, what we've been doing there, and I think it's not worth it, is the Ukrainian government has, between 2014 and 2022, and especially after 2022, been getting consistently more repressive towards its ethnic minorities, specifically the ethnic Russians that live within the country. It has begun to, in a greater sense, idealize more with its history, specifically its history during World War II, and even during World War I, in which there were leaders that were directly, essentially puppets of Adolf Hitler, because of the nature of what the Ukrainian state existed in during World War II. And these people were open and abashed ethnic nationalists. And that ethnic nationalist character is becoming, I think, more forefront, which I think is a major problem. And besides all that, besides the increase in repression, besides all the negative human rights abuses that have happened since then. Besides the fact that, unlike in Taiwan, where most people want to be separate from China, the areas in which Ukraine had control in Crimea, for example, did not want to be part of Ukraine. They insisted on controlling areas that did not want to live under their rule, and abusing those areas by nullifying their votes. And so I think that the character of the democracy situation and the human rights situation is not the same as with other countries. And here's the biggest thing. China is the biggest threat. And what we've done with these sanctions on Russia...
I'll hear you clicking.
You're good.
It might be me. I clicked my mouse.
Oh, maybe it's Corey. Okay.
China is the biggest
Gibbs
threat.
is not here, so I have to blame someone. So it's okay. He's muted. Sorry about
And what we've done with these sanctions is we've pushed Russia into being a client state of the new Chinese empire. Following 2022, a substantial part of the Russian economy is now shifted towards China. They've signed new natural gas deals that are incredibly
and
favorable
Canada
to
as
China.
well.
What do you mean by that?
Canada towards China, in terms of like Canada's developing a close relationship with China.
But possibly, which is horrible too.
They're making efforts.
Right, but the big one I'm referring to here is the fact that in 2022 and 2023 you had major gas deals signed in which China gets a sweetheart deal for Russian natural gas, minerals, economic exchange, etc. Because they have all the leverage. Right, Russia has nobody else to sell to. They're sanctioned. They have to sell to China, and when you're China, when you can negotiate the rate in which that you're the seller must sell, of course you can get the best deal possible. Of course you can force this country to align with you economically, because China is a much bigger threat economically than Russia is. It just is the case. And I think that our actions here through supporting Ukraine, what is going to lead to is, instead of having a semi-independent regional pole of power in Russia, which is not always aligned with China, you're going to see a Chinese client state fueling who I think is actually our biggest enemy. And that's not the case when it came to our intervention in Korea. This is not the case when it came to our intervention in Taiwan. It's not even the case in our intervention in Vietnam. This is a unique situation in which we're pushing a country into the orbit of our greatest enemy. And I don't want to do that. So that's
and you have Trump to thank for that. Go Trump.
Wait, how do you feel about
Obama.
Like the Republicans?
Obama started it, sure.
Like, I don't know where you land with Laura Loomer and them, but like they've been like apologizing to
Tim Pool is trolling. Laura Loomer is serious.
Laura Loomer literally went and apologized to his face. So
Yeah.
how do you feel? How do you feel about like this kind of surge of?
Yeah, I'm glad I never backed Laura Loomer. I've been making fun of her the whole time, and I'll continue to do so. Laura Loomer is not a serious political actor. She looks like The Mask.
You think Tim Pool?
That's because of plastic surgery, so I can make fun of her for that and not feel bad.
For all her fraud.
I think I unironically I'm at like 50%. I think that I'm at 50% like positivity that the only reason why she's shifted on this is because she has a beef with Candace Owens. I'm think that's a large part.
Wouldn't
of it.
surprise me.
Yeah, it was like 50% that maybe she actually came to this new enlightenment, and 50% that Candace Owens came out in favor of Russia. Now she's like, well, I got to stick it to Candace Owens because blah blah blah. Charlie Kirk.
What's the logic there? Yeah. Can you repeat that?
Because they hate each other and they're talking shit all the time on Twitter. It just seems like such a coincidence, right? She's talking major shit about Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson, and like they don't get along personally, and they're just talking shit. Oh, and now she's all of a sudden she's super pro Ukraine. Someone like Laura Loomer, a deep political thinker. Yeah, I don't know about that.
Think Tim Pool's joking or just riding a wave?
Tim Pool is absolutely joking. Look at the comments that he's putting like publicly on Twitter under his own tweets. Like he's being like, I think one of them was like, Zelensky's the Abraham Lincoln of our time. Anybody who disagrees is actually like a fascist. Obviously like sarcastic.
Can I know I did give you? I was going to give you the last word, and I did mean it at the time. But question.
I went on for a while too, so you guys. I mean,
well, just one quick question. Like, would Ukraine be an example of a country that came under a democratic U.S. rule and has a democratic backslide?
It's tough because I think a lot of I think you are seeing democratic backsliding in Ukraine, but I think a lot of the democratic backsliding has a lot to do with how Ukrainians are trying to assert their national identity in a situation that's pretty unique because for a lot of Ukrainians did live as essentially second-class citizens under the Soviet Union, and a lot of them are resentful of that. And like the Ukrainian nationalist mind, well, the last time we were independent was World War II. And what was the government type that we had during World War II? Well, it was a repressive fascist government, right, working with Nazis, led by Nazis that were, ethno-nationalists. Somewhat ironically, and I'm not just saying this to get you on my side on this, but I think there's some elements of Ukraine that are actually very similar to Israel, where I think fundamentally a lot of them see Ukraine as like the foundation of Ukraine should be a Ukrainian state for Ukrainians. It's not for other people. This is for us. And I think that mindset
that probably
going
reflects
into
many
it,
countries.
Yeah,
probably
sure.
Russia as well.
No.
But who counts
think-
as
not- not all in
Ukrainian then, right?
Like ethnic
that's-
Ukrainians are like, yeah.
Yeah, I think right now Russia's all their ads are like, look how tolerant we are, because they don't want to piss off the Chechens. So, I mean, if you look at Russian military ads, like they're in Russian, but also like in various like the Turkic languages that are also exist, like Bashkiri, that exist within Russia too. They're trying to emphasize that part of it because they're trying to get all the people of all the different ethnic groups to fight in Ukraine.
Well, yeah, because they're trying to unify because they want to unify against an enemy or perceived enemy.
Sure, they are. But it's a good question. I mean, look, I would have no. The other problem is I don't think we're going to win there. I don't think Ukraine's going to win and get anything better than what the peace deal was proposed in March of 2022. But yeah, I mean, that probably is the best example of a country that is doing a little bit of democratic backsliding while under U.S. influence. I don't know. Okay. Because they were doing it even before 2022. It was happening too, because the language law was 2017 and the media law was 2019. So,
what about Israel?
Are they democratically backsliding? I understand they're doing a bunch of shit.
They're in like far right wing governments. Netanyahu's kind of like,
Yeah, but he wins like legitimately every time, though, right?
Yeah, but he's also avoiding court in his country and the ICC, like the war crimes and so on and so forth. So I mean, like, I don't know if the people are so supportive of those, or maybe they are.
Israel's tough because like I wouldn't call that necessarily democratic backsliding. If the people there want you to commit war crimes, then technically the democratic thing to do is war crimes. Yeah. So.
Yeah, that's the thing. I was thinking. I don't hesitate to bring up Israel, right? But I thought about this. I'm like, well, Israel was always shitty, right? From its birth. It was.
They don't kill gays.
Like, it was okay. Hold on. So I think it's actually, but one, they don't allow them to marry, right? But like,
they don't. That's right.
They don't.
Yeah, like two. I think the whole thing is overstated. Like they've just one of the points. Sorry, I'm getting distracted. I think Israel has always been like pretty goddamn awful. Like from the start. Yes, there is a democracy for the Jews. But then for everyone else, not so much, right? And so like if you're living on if you have a democracy under a massive apartheid state, I don't really call it a democracy, which is also my hot take, which you've heard before, Lagjoy, is that hey, America wasn't a democracy before the civil rights movement. Not a true one.
That's fair.
Yeah,
that's fair.
If you're living under a massive system I know you do. I remember you didn't like it the first time I told you. If you're
well, it's because the oppression didn't apply to like a lot of the white people. It was just the blacks and the Indians,
Well, if the democracy wanted that, then it's permissible, right?
It's a democratic thing. Then
I mean, black people could vote. I would see a big like black people were given the right to vote in like what? Like 1860s. So I would say you can argue then we were democracy,
but
perhaps.
Then was the
I guess women. So then 1920s.
The brutal. Yeah, I mean, there's the women, and I forgot about the women too. So I apologize to.
How could you forget about the women
who might be watching? But like,
but I mean, they voted through their husbands, right?
I mean, in
What
the
you know
end,
what
it worked
Lactwood
out.
really wants?
It was a democracy of households, is what it was. Really,
Lactwood wants that democratic backsliding.
Yeah.
Democracy is not. But to be clear, I'm not always in favor of democracy. To be clear, I only like democracy in a nuanced way.
I am very
when
aware
Lactwood has the only say, that type of democracy.
I mean, that's the best kind of democracy of all time. But I'm saying, like, I do believe in the concept of like self-determination, but there's obviously like I think should be strict guardrails, like self-determination, but you don't get to vote people into slavery. You don't get to vote that black people and white people can't be in the same place, right?
Fair, and yeah, sure. But yeah, it's weird. I'm not trying to make this into a whole conversation. That was my point of bringing this up. But I got to push back, right, friend? Like, if you like, let's just like divide the population, right? You got a population, right? And we're going to limit this to white people and black people. Obviously, there are more people that were part of the United States throughout the years, right? But just for the moment, we're going to limit it to those two groups, right?
The whites,
white people. Black people, the Negroes, as sometimes
the
I
brothers,
call them,
brothers and the whites.
But for the black people, when they are locked out, right? A vote is given to them. That's after a violent war, sure. A vote is given to them, but then they are systematically denied that vote, right? In a brutal apartheid system, and I don't know how someone can look this up, right? But like, by the time of the civil rights movement, I don't know what the portion of the black population was to the larger country. Let's say it's 15%, but maybe someone else looked that up for me. But whatever.
It's been pretty stable at 13% for a very long time.
Okay, 13%. I'll go with that for now, right? But 13% had been locked out, right, of the population. I don't see how you can call that democracy. And then, of course, there was the fact women, right? Half of that. Of the population was locked out. So it's black people and then also white women. So just leaving white men, right? And you say, well, that's a democracy. That's a democratic country. It's once you subtract all those people. So that's less than 50% who could vote. But that's a democracy to you?
And it was only land-owning white men at a certain point in time, too.
At a certain point in time, before
a country. I don't think a country has to be perfect to be considered a democracy. To be clear,
I don't say it has to be perfect, but like,
but what I mean by that is that like, I think that I think the strongest argument you have is maybe like if you're actually telling people they can't vote, maybe that's a pretty strong argument. But I think that you can have policies that are oppressed to certain groups and still be a democracy as long as they get like some kind of equal weight of self-determination in their vote. And yeah, you're right that 13%, their vote matters less because they're just fewer people. Like Ryan Rand once wrote that the most oppressed minority in America is the individual. There's going to be all sorts of like small groups that are not going to get their way because they simply don't have the voting power to prevent a larger voting power.
It wasn't the voting power thing. It was being denied the vote, right? That was a problem.
Yeah, but that was that was possible because half the country wasn't black. Like it's much easier to like for racists to win when you only have to worry about losing for sure 13% of the population.
It's easy to be racist when it's majority racist, and you're.
Yeah, so like you got a country that's the vast majority is white. Like it's going to be easier for me to like, hey, I'm going to appeal to you, white man.
Yes, I get that.
Why do you think politicians try to cater to poor people?
Or
the elderly. Have you fucking heard like these fucking politicians? Both fucking Republicans who
I think they pander to them, but they cater to their donors.
Well, hold on, but they cater to old people. That the Republicans have not cut Social Security. Why? Because their fucking voters are on it. That's
even though it's waste, fraud, and abuse, right?
It is. It's horrible. It's indefensible. Social Security is fucking terrible.
Why did Doge cut it?
But their voters are on it.
But
the young Republican, by the way, the Republican think tanks all agree on this. Like, if you actually look at like the free market kind of like Republican think tanks, when they analyze Social Security, they're like, it's bad. Look at Cato, they all say it's bad.
I want to go to this tangent. Hey,
sorry.
Can you make me? It's fine. I get it's your thing. Fair enough. But can you name me another group within the American, democracy that's at, let's say, 13%, who was just like locked out in the same way, other than women. Obviously, there was even more of them, but like other than women, who was locked out, who had the vote, and then who was locked out.
Another group that when you say locked out, what do you mean?
Oh, sorry. Well, that they couldn't get their.
Am I cutting out or is he cutting out?
No, he cut out.
He cut out for me too.
I think I know
he's being locked out right now by lack.
Yeah, you were being locked out of the vote, Prime. So you were saying
you cut out, brother. What's going on?
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Fine. So but is there another group that had the vote but couldn't exercise their democratic voice the way Black people couldn't? Is there another group of that size? Because the thesis you're putting out here
what do you mean by
it's just a small
voice?
I'm sorry, like I don't know, like get like
would my guess be Native Americans? Does that count? Did they?
Well, Native Americans. Well, Native Americans got the right to vote after Black people. They actually.
I thought that's what he was. I thought he was referencing Native Americans.
I wasn't referencing anyone. I'm asking.
I thought
going back to it. Yeah, no worries, friend. It's just that. So look, I'll try to get to where I'm going.
Native Americans are a good example.
Your thesis. Sorry, what did you say?
Native Americans are a good example. They're a small percentage of America. Yeah, of course, they're a small percentage of America. 13%. We can. Yeah, I don't know if there's any other ethnic group that's exactly at 13%.
No, not exactly. I said 30% or like more, like around that number. So like the reason why I didn't say Native Americans, and unless my understanding is incorrect, it could be right, is that a extremely tiny portion of the population.
Very small, lower single digits. Yeah.
Exactly. Really? Right. So I'm saying like a 10% or greater. Right. So like a group that big who gets locked out of the democratic process, even though they technically have access to the vote. Because the point you're saying, the point that you said is that like it's just that like any other small group, right? Black people could easily be othered because they're in that group. So I could just like appeal to white men, the larger group, right? And sit and get them on my side, right? Demagogue against them, right? So is there any other group? I'm saying that like Black people are special. What I'm talking about here is not something that's just easily replicable because they're a small group, the way you stated.
But I think 13% is pretty small comparative to the majority, like white people.
Is there any other group that
I do not believe there is any other group over 10% I can think of, unless you count women. Maybe women, but if we're talking about like racial groups.
Yeah, I'm talking about groups in general. I'm not talking about racial groups. I'm talking about any grouping of individuals.
Look, I don't know why it's got to be over 10%. I think women are an example. If we're talking about under 10%, Asian people could vote, Japanese people could vote. We put them in concentration camps.
Yes.
I think there's Native Americans can vote, and if there's some pipeline to be built, it's going to be built.
Friend, that's my point, though. You're making my point. Yeah, because you're saying just because of the fact that African Americans were a smaller group, that's why they were brutalized for so long and denied the vote for so long, right? I'm saying it's not that. I'm saying that's specifically because it's not simply a small group. It's because they were targeted. There was an extra element, right? That would be their race. If you had applied this to anyone else, let's say Methodists, right? The Methodists were 10% of the population, right? You don't see Methodists being crushed like that either, right? Even though you could go to other sects and say the Methodists are horrible for this and this reasons, you don't see that replicated in that way, right? Like this is different. This is like because of the apartheid that was created. That apartheid is created because of this ethnic strife, right? It's not just small group. Does that make sense? Do you understand?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Okay.
I think my perspective on this is that prior to the civil rights movement in the 60s, Black people could vote post 1865, right? Or really 1868 perhaps, but following the Civil War. And Black people were politically enfranchised at that point. I don't disagree that using the weight of the white majority, the white majority was able to craft laws that socially disenfranchise black people. But I think any large majority has done this to small groups, sometimes in even worse ways. And I think the example that I would give for that is the Japanese internment camps. We didn't put black people in concentration camps. Not saying that we wouldn't if we were at war with some, like, I don't know, country that we were concerned that, like, black Americans might have some loyalty to, I guess. Perhaps the white majority would have voted for that. Maybe.
All right. I won't, like, again, this was my point, was to bring up this conversation. But, like, I mean, all this. Okay, so the only point of me, like, putting up that little fight there was that for you to say, well, this is just how democracies work. And I don't think they just work like this. I don't think that's just, like, inherent property of democracies. And I think there's an extra element that causes this. And in any case, right, like, if you are denying, like, the vote to literally, like, 50 plus, right? Like, if 50 plus people are disenfranchised, like, whatever's left, right, looks like democracy, right, and will call itself democracy. That's not a democracy, though. It's not a democracy. And it, like, literally the minority is, like, in this case, it's the minority. It's not even the larger group. It's the minority that's voting to hold on to the power compared to the rest, right? Because they're denying white women the vote as well. The minority says that, like, I'm going to maintain this position, and I'll fight and I'll do violence to make sure that happens.
I think it could still be a democracy. I would say maybe like a flawed democracy, maybe like a flawed republic, but, like, we currently disenfranchise people from voting, and it's a good thing. Like, I don't want 16-year-olds voting.
Well, I do. But
14-year-olds?
No, I've made this case before.
8-year-olds should be able to vote.
5-year-olds should be able to vote. First it was the women, then it was the 5-year-olds.
5-year-olds get 2 votes.
Slippery slope. I knew it.
Don't forget the embryos.
The embryo.
Well, women aren't going to want
Pregnant women
that.
get 2 votes.
Okay, so I'll leave it there. But thank you for the conversation, friend. I just wanted to examine your views on the war. I'm surprised that you weren't. I didn't expect you to say. Actually, no. I was unsure what you were going to say. I really was. I think it's interesting that you said that everything after the Vietnam War you haven't supported. Right? That's pretty much your position.
I can't think of one.
Okay.
And he was on the fence about World War One, if I remember correctly.
Yes, I'm also on the fence of World War One. Yeah, I don't think people like to think about World War One as like, obviously one side was better. World War One, I think World War Two for sure. Yes, but World War One not so much. I think World War One was actually.
You think it was a morally ambiguous war?
Yeah.
Okay.
Much more predicated on, like, regional alliances and just, like, technicalities than it was actually on, like, a real ideological battle.
That's my understanding as well. I don't know enough to make a definitive statement, but I'm leaning to what Lactoid says there.
One more thing. Unlike Laura Loomer, and unlike the fake tweets from Tim Pool, Lactoid remains the warrior against Ukraine. And I will remain the warrior against. I don't care what Laura Loomer says. I don't care what, even if Trump himself comes out tomorrow. My position is not based on rubles. It's based on principle. But if you want to send me some rubles, I'm just gonna say, I'm just saying.
So you're pro-Russia. So you are pro-Russia then, Lactoid. Is that?
No, I'm anti-Ukraine. I said I'm anti-Ukraine.
That's true.
Yeah,
that's my position. I'm anti-Ukraine. I am in favor of normalizing relations with Russia, but I'm not in favor of, like, kowtowing to them.
Well, Lactoid. Hold on. The other question I was going to ask you, and we'll do this very, very quickly, right? We'll have to do a whole another hour or so.
I want to ask Lactoid questions after this.
I popped my neck.
Yeah, we should all ask Lactoid questions.
I'm feeling good now. I got energy. I cracked my neck. I'm feeling good now. Go ahead. Give it to me.
What are you,
But
60?
the only thing I'm going to say is that like I am
The blood flow
slightly,
attack.
after this weekend, I am slightly closer to your position, Lactor, than I
Laura
was
Loomer.
before that.
Yeah.
No,
If someone like Laura Loomer, think about it. Yeah, good point. Yeah.
I've always understood Lactoid's
Prime
position. It makes
acquiescing
sense.
to the white man, as usual.
I do that all the time. I can't stop.
But in opposition to the white woman, which is
opposite.
That's what Prime's in favor of.
Laura Loomer is so weird, dude. I'm sorry. Such a weird person.
Yeah, I mean,
And yet she has such a massive following and fans.
I don't know how that happened.
You
can't sell shit in this country.
I don't know. I mean, like, also, there's a lot of astroturfed conservative media. That's something that happens.
There is.
But anyway, so what happened was Zelensky ordered an attack on an Iranian ship. Yeah. Yep. So Zelensky like fires a missile, or maybe a few missiles, I'm not sure, at an Iranian ship. They accused the Iranian ship.
It wasn't a war vessel either. It was just like a trucking or like a shipping vessel, right?
Well, that's what the Iranians claim, right? Zelensky says, they were carrying Russian weapons, right? I think the claim is for the Iranian war effort. Not necessarily the Russian war effort. But in any case, like what I can't say for sure. Prime certainly doesn't know which one is which, right? But like they fired on them and
Lactoid, no!
Suppressing the white man. I'm back to my African roots, suppressing the white man. Oh, here he is.
I'm back. Go ahead.
But yeah, so I like I said, I can't tell you which is the case, but it seems like what Zelensky is doing is trying to merge the Ukrainian fight with the anti-Iranian fight, I guess, right? To draw the U.S. further into the Ukrainian conflict,
100%.
Maybe even having American troops like actually involved, to curry favor with both Israel, the Gulf states, right? And like because America is rethinking its aid situation, right? Because this Iranian war that Trump got himself into has been disastrous. Our munitions have been drastically lowered, and for the longest time we've been like unsure how much to send to Ukraine, right? Now if Zelensky continues down this road and gets his way, well, it's like, well, we're part of this. Well, it's a shared struggle. Iran and Russia, they are allies, right? And they, in fact, the drones. My understanding is, and maybe my friend Lactor can correct me if I'm wrong, but the drones that Russia uses were developed by Iran. My understanding, and anyway, one way or the other, they share drone technology. Yeah. They share drone technology, and so it's like, well, maybe these things are the same thing, and he's trying to open up another front. This will be disastrous. If this happens, and so yes, I'm pushed closer to the anti-Ukrainian position because of this development.
Wait, can you what makes you opposed to this, or what makes you further anti-Ukrainian? Because of the other
Ukraine bombed that Iranian vessel, and it seemed like the reason they bombed that was to ingratiate themselves to
U.S. interests,
not only the Gulf countries, but like American neocons. To get continued and increased American aid for the Ukrainian war.
Of course.
Do you understand, Corey?
Well, you described the events, but like, what makes you because it's a neocon move, and therefore you're against a neocon move?
Because it's against the Iran conflict, right?
Yeah, I'm against the Iran conflict.
So am I.
Corey,
I don't think that was good, but like, continue your point that you're about.
Sure. This is an escalation of the Iran conflict, right? And then this can draw the U.S. further into the Ukrainian conflict, which, like right now, like our relationship there is quite tenuous. Our support is quite tenuous because we're running out of munitions to actually send. And so and this is possibly right, and I can't say this for sure, but this might be possibly an effort to get Americans directly involved with Ukraine, meaning American boots on the ground fighting Russians.
Yeah. And that's a red line for you, as in there should be under no circumstances that the U.S. should have boots on the ground in Ukraine, as in just never be on the side of Ukraine.
Certainly, yeah, absolutely.
Direct combat with a nuclear power, probably a pretty good line, I would say.
Yeah, I want nuclear powers to avoid fighting each other as much as possible.
Yeah.
If we have American troops in Ukraine, I mean, that's more aid and defense to Ukraine than NATO. Because we're actually just there for them, and they're not also.
But I don't think Ukraine is part of NATO.
They're not. We're gonna start having some real casualties though as well, right? I'm not denying that.
We have casualties with the Iran war now.
We do, right? But
I know you'd have definitely more with
right, and that's the point. We would probably get an outsized ratio. We do in every conflict, but
our ratio to steamroll Russia, right? Because the U.S. military is just no match for anything. That's what I hear.
Yeah.
I think Scott has made that point. Gibbs makes that point consistently. You can just roll over anything and just take over the world.
Yeah, just send in one Marine. Wipe them out.
One Captain America, get it done.
Yeah. What a disaster that would be. And there's voices that want us to do it in America right now.
So
that want us to start fighting with them directly.
I understand if boots on the ground is a red line for you, Prime, but then if the intention is just to curry favor for Ukraine to curry favor with the U.S. so that the U.S. actually sends, let's say, arms and munitions as aid, that's also a red line for you?
Well, if it escalates the war and then we're more involved.
There's multiple things here. So, it's good that you asked me this because, my feelings are complicated here. I had been supportive of the effort, with Ukraine, to the extent that Russia invaded, right? And it was unclear how far west they were going to march, right? Were they just going to take the two states that were heavily Russian, ethnic Russian, or were they going to do more, right? So I was very much against that, but this seems like a way to further draw the U.S. in, and and separately from that, I am staunchly against the American war effort in Iran, right? And I want the Iranians to be able to fight back against the imperialist oppressors, meaning us. And so, let's say those were arms, right? Because again, I have no idea what was on that ship, right? I
don't think anybody knows.
But let's say they were exactly what
could have been arms.
Zelensky said, right? Yeah, it could have been, right? If they were exactly what Zelensky says, well, then fuck you, Zelensky. Actually, I want those arms to get to Iran, so I want to be able to fight off their imperialist oppressors, meaning the United States. Yeah, actually. So yeah, I don't want to strengthen the other side.
Okay, interesting. Would if somehow the Palestinians were able to bomb that ship, would you have the same position?
How would the Palestinians bomb an Iranian ship? I don't know.
Well, I'm just
confused.
I'm asking a hypothetical. I know that they wouldn't.
Sure. Here's that, and I'm going right. So the Palestinians have the ability to launch into the Caspian. I think it's the Caspian Sea, right?
I know they don't have the capability.
What if they were to shoot themselves?
His point is if they were there and that was happening, just I hear you.
He'd be confused. I would too.
I mean. Yeah, I would. Yeah, my I had no reaction. My reaction was, why is this happening? Was this a mistake? It wouldn't. My initial reaction, if this became a trend line,
I could ask, why was the trolley problem? Why are people?
I have a better one. I have a better hypothetical.
Yes.
If the Palestinians shot down a truck that was going from Iran to Lebanon for Hezbollah, and they stopped it in order to curry favor with America, right? They want to show that hey, we're not terrorists anymore, so on and so forth. So they stop this ammunition aids to southern Lebanon.
Who did?
Or the aid of ammunition to southern Lebanon. I'm trying to make it as possible.
Who stopped the shipment?
The Palestinians. No, I would say
Hamas stopped the weapons shipment to
I'd
Hezbollah?
say
the Palestinians in general, just some other group in Palestine. Okay.
No, just the Palestinians in order to curry more favor with
Palestinians in
America. Hey,
general.
we're anti.
I would still be confused. The only group
Yeah.
that like I would
okay,
make
that's
sense
fair.
would be like some local gang that wants to sell it off to make money. Maybe.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it makes sense. The trolley problem doesn't make sense. You can ask why, but that's not what I'm asking. You know that's not the point of a hypothetical.
But no. But I you know, friend. Like the trolley problem is separate from reality, right? And it's just testing, right? Like your
principle,
your moral
yes,
instincts,
an underlying principle.
But this isn't a principle thing. This is an examination.
Okay, so then you have no principled stance.
Listen, friend, please. This is an what you have presented, an examination of incentives, of alliances, of national interests, right? Like all those things are confused in the thing in what you presented me, right? And so my reaction would be, I'm confused because I don't understand.
Right.
And
so then my claim holds true. It is not a principled stance. You are taking other factors into consideration.
Okay. No. Okay, no. Maybe I get what you're saying, right? My reaction to this one incident is not a principled stance, right? It's outside the principle. I'm saying I don't like it. There's lots of things that I'm against that I just don't like, right?
That's all I was trying to clarify.
No, sure. Okay. I didn't. I'm just trying to work out because it was very okay. Yeah, I was just trying to understand.
Well, then maybe give some charity towards me.
I wasn't trying to. Fred, it was confused. You gave a bad hypothetical.
Let me clarify. You just said
let me level hypothetical. It was awful.
I kind of got the point of the hypothetical.
I listened to the hypo. I gave you the room.
I was trying to clarify that, and I once I was able to clarify in terms of because you literally outlined what I was testing of like the trolley problem. You can ask why, and like you said, like there's a principle, or you were testing an underlying principle, and I said, well, yes, that's what I'm testing. You said, no, this is not a principle. That's effectively, in longer words, not a principled stance. That is all I was trying to.
Okay, well then I already answered you though. But I already answered you.
No, your initial answer is like you're confused.
No, I'm sorry. Two things. One, yes, I would be in the hypothetical you arranged, right? My reaction, which is what you asked me, would be confusion. Just confusion. Why would the Palestinians do this? It doesn't make any sense.
And I can ask the same question to the trolley problem. Why are people lying on train tracks?
No,
I'd be confused too.
Friend,
why am I asked to pull a lever determining where a train goes between three people and two people?
Corey, these are different classes of hypotheticals, though. That's what I was trying to say to you, right? The one tests principles. The thing that you asked me didn't test a principle.
Yes, it did.
No, it didn't. It's no, it didn't. Right. You asked me what my reaction would be, how would I feel to
well, if your reaction would be the same.
Confused event happening, and I'm confused, right? Like, okay, but we can just leave it alone. It's fine. Okay. All right.
To be clear, one more thing. I don't think that Russia and Iran would have so much interaction and have so much cooperation if it wasn't for our involvement with Ukraine. That's another little side effect of that.
Really?
Wasn't that our whole reason for quitting them? Because they were too like buddy with the USSR at the time, originally in the 50s or whatever. Because it was like we have the Islamo-communism, you know.
There was some oil interest there as well. Also,
of course, I know, but like,
all right. Also, the Soviet Union was much more of a threat than Russia is today. And the Soviet Union was more powerful, and the Soviet Union had more influence in Iran.
Well, you say that like, but like if Russia ends up partnering up with China, then
what I'm saying is that
is a massive, right?
Right, but what other option do you have right now as Russia but to partner with Iran and China? Before you were integrated into the European market, now you're not.
No, that's fair.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So, thanks everyone. This is Reverie Roundtable. If you like that that pre-ramble, that pre-topic. If you like the pre-game that we just did, consider supporting the channel. Thanks, Bam, for getting that sub much earlier. So appreciate it. But yeah, this is Reverie Roundtable. We do this all the time. We are smaller than usual, but small but mighty. But yeah, we still have a good time. No matter what, we can figure out something to yell at each other about. Guaranteed. And so I thank these individuals. And so we'll move on to the great topic. But if you support this, consider following the channel. Consider being a subscriber or a YouTube member, or super chatting. That's what I was trying to think of. Super chatting on YouTube, and we'll read your super chats. It'll be all great. So yeah, we'll go from there. So the topic for tonight: Pump.fun is a cryptocurrency creation website. Alongside their main business, they've opened a side venture where individuals can put up quote unquote bounties for others to complete various tasks. These tasks often act as flashy advertisement for various meme coins, such as parachuting into a World Cup game while wearing a crypto-themed outfit. Many have accused these bounties as ways to exploit the poor and put them in dangerous situations for the amusement of others. Do you think this service and others like it should be allowed to operate? Should there be limits as to what we pay people to do for amusement? Does it matter if most of the people who are completing these tasks are desperate? Does something like this make our society worse off? And credit to our friend Ali, who sent me the article. I thought we had talked about this website before. I searched my my records here. I thought I could have sworn we talked about this place before.
No, this is a new one. I sent you a link about a credit card. Yeah. A credit card that does that it's like a lottery credit card where it like may pay one of your items off, like if you use it. And that's
no, I know you said, yeah, you did send me that, but I had known about this website previously. I thought I'd made it a topic. Yeah, this wasn't the first time I learned about it.
I thought it was a new website.
No, it's been a while for. I don't know when it started, but anyway, the point is that like I learned about this months ago. And I thought I made it a topic, but apparently not. But it doesn't matter. But one way, another way, credit to our friend Ali for sending me the article.
You mean our cousin Ali?
Yeah, indeed. But yeah, so this website, it like I had bet, so I had been to this website beforehand. So I like when I first learned about it, I went to the website and checked out the bounties. So I did remember it. But yeah, like it's just like most of it's a lot of silly shit. All right, like it's not anything particularly interesting, but like there have been some like really pernicious sounding actions that they'll pay people for, and some of them are just like really annoying, like hey, like like most of them come down to like make a scene, right? Make a scene while advertising this particular crypto. Again, this is a crypto currency creation website. So again, for the audience, if you don't understand what I mean, is that like you can go to pump.fun, right? And it seems like in very little time with very little effort, like create your own meme coin, mint that, and just have it out there. And so people, when they do that, they want their coin to go to the moon, right? How do you do that? You have to get attention on social media, right? They're trying to create another GameStop situation, and so this side business that Pump.fun has, right? What it turns out that most of these bounties are like maybe like go into like film yourself going into like a Burger King, right? And then like screaming the name, like one of them is Fartcoin. Fartcoin's apparently one, right? Fartcoin, I love Fartcoin, some shit like that, right? Like make a mess, throw things around, and then like get out of there, or some shit like that. And then you get a payout. Like there are some where they're just being obnoxious, then some were like skirting the law, and then some were might be breaking the law, but I don't know. It depends on your jurisdiction, really.
But if you are breaking law, they're not responsible for that.
No, they're not responsible for that. But also, like, things that are just seem kind of scummy, right? Like having people tattoo cryptocurrencies on their bodies, right? And the people who end up doing that, like the name, right? Like tattoo something on your head. Like apparently, according to the article, some guy on the other side of the planet like tattooed the name of some meme coin on his head to get a payout, right? For like $3,000, I believe. And which is a lot of money from in his economy. So like is that just okay? I mean, it was his choice, right? There's no gun to his head. And I imagine we can interview that individual, he might say his life is better off, right? Like if he really needed that money and he got that money, well, I mean, if he's better off, then he's better off. Maybe you'll say like, yeah, it was worth it. But should be asking that. And there's other places I want to take this because this is not the first website to do this sort of thing. This is not a new concept, right? And so, yeah, I'm just trying to figure out, like, is this healthy for our society? So we'll start with our friend Ali, work our way around.
Our cousin Ali.
Thanks for thanks for having me, Prime. Yeah, I saw this and I was just like, damn, like every year it seems like America becomes more and more of a Black Mirror episode. Now, my argument is not whether or not we should have something like this, because I can already see Lactoid's gears turning about like how pro this he is, right? He's very happy. This is very libertarian. This is probably the most libertarian thing is, hey, I'll pay you to do something stupid. And if you do it, that's great. But like my issue is that in the society that you want to build, Lactoid, you don't want to have a lot of people that are doing this. You don't want to have people that are desperate enough to kind of just be jesters, right? For modern day kings, right? For crypto makers, for money makers. And so it's like,
he does I don't know if you king. That's his plan.
Well, yeah, but he has to become the king. And
I'm at least a member of the noble class.
Okay, yeah, you have to become a part of the noble class. But this makes it harder to become that because the people that are making money off this, the people that are in control of this, right? It just kind of separates the gap more and more. And I don't know if you being a lawyer hits that like gap of like riches to not, especially with AI coming, especially with all these things coming. So soon you might become one of these jesters. That's I think the worry. Now, my more concern is that like we're going towards a society where this is going to become more normalized, where like more and more people are feeling desperate enough. And if that's what Americans are doing, if that's what like Americans feel, then we're just kind of on a downfall.
Yeah, go ahead, Lactoid.
Yeah, kind of like Ollie predicted, I see no problem with this in any which way. The only exception is I would have it be the same thing as every other marketplace ever, which is you just don't allow illegal shit. To me, this is just really, it's just like a fun way of paying people to do stuff. Like I could tomorrow put like on a Facebook market listing, get a tattoo with your on your forehead for this amount of money. I could put out flyers saying, hey, reach out to me if you want to get this tattoo on your head. I can make a post on Twitter, blah, blah, blah. I could do anything in order to try to like get people to do dumb things for a certain amount of money. To advertise a product or advertise anything. I don't see any problem with this. That Indian guy, if he wants to get a tattoo on his head. And look, I'm in the top, look, I live in America. I'm in the top 1% of the world, baby. Okay, and the idea that I can just like pay Indian people to do shit, yeah, seems pretty. I mean, we already pay them like to make everything that we consume. I mean, in China and India and stuff. I mean, everything I'm wearing probably comes up from there. I didn't fucking
all your customer service.
Yeah, I didn't sew that shit. That it wasn't me as a child, putting together a pair of Nikes. I don't see this as really any different or any worse than anything we've ever done. This seems to be just a fun, stupid little crypto thing. If it gets to the point where there's a bunch of like broccoli-headed tweens that are like causing ruckus through this app, then like, yeah, maybe put an age gate or something. I don't know. Maybe we shouldn't allow kids to do kind of like dumb permanent shit. But if you're an adult and you want to do something that's legal, but it's dumb for money, I mean, yeah, I don't want to ban the movie Jackass. And I don't want to ban this.
Thank you. Let's go to our friend Corey.
So before starting,
our cousin Corey, excuse me.
Yeah, exactly. Although I don't want to infringe on Ali's copyright, a namesake. But yeah, before I begin, in the vein of Lactoid being part of the nobility, how is your SpaceX stock doing?
Oh, I haven't checked it in a while.
No, okay.
That's how you know nobility. I buy stocks and I don't watch it. Give me a second.
But I'm on the opposite camp of Lactoid. Maybe no surprise. I think there's probably, at least if this gets bigger and bigger, or if let's say there's more sites like this popping up, I think that's probably a reflection of a poor functioning society. I think it leads to 24 what?
Down $24.
Ooh. So how's that nobility looking?
Yeah, my one stock of SpaceX is really sinking me, Corey.
He can afford to lose $24.
True, yeah. And he's also a trillionaire, right? So he can afford that minus $24. Did you set a sell-off point, or you're in it for?
I'm right. Like it's one stock. I'm gonna write it. It's going to the moon anyway.
Right to Mars. But yeah, all that to say is just like from my perspective, at least from what I have casually observed, although I don't know if there's any numbers in backing this up, but like let's say even just it seems like streaming, IRL streaming in and itself seems to have created some bad incentives in terms of like incentivizing maybe some poor behavior and pranks and all that stuff. And I don't want to get that to be more widespread. And I think this potentially further incentivizes that, or I can see how they can potentially lead to further incentivizing that. And therefore, so far, I think I'm against it, or I lean towards being against it, since I don't want to incentivize poor behavior. Just like I don't think IRL streaming is necessarily good. Unless we start age gating that to 25 plus, then you can IRL stream.
Lactoid. So before the stream, someone, they asked me about the topic, right? I sent them to it, and they're like, well, Lactoid is going to be for it, right? I said to this individual that I wasn't positive exactly where your position was going to be.
Should have been.
Because
I agree. He probably should have been.
Yeah, that would have been that's an easy call.
Hold on. And the reason why was because, like, I believe in the past, and maybe I'm misremembering, and I might be, right? But I believe in the past, when we've talked about gambling, you've had reservations about that, about the extent that we should allow that, like it being like morally corrosive.
It is morally corrosive.
A minor, yes, sure. But that I thought you like agreed with Scott that was like morally corrosive to our country.
Yeah, but he would never make it illegal, or rather not for adults, as in pretty much as long as you're grown adults, and more or less anything goes.
Yeah, I know. I hate
encourage it, or
even though it's pernicious for adults too. It's not just kids that get affected by the gambling.
Exactly. No, I
just like Lactoid is very pro bestiality. He's all about the bestiality, but
all about
he would not incentivize it or promote it.
Every waking moment.
Yes, it's always on your mind. Those gears are turning about bestiality, right?
I'm thinking about it right now too. Wow.
I know.
Hot.
That's why you cracked.
So I was just imagining a giraffe. Yeah. I once described casinos as Chuck E. Cheese's from hell. I think these are horrible places, and I think that they prey on human psychology. They're structured around negative aspects of human psychology, and nobody should ever set foot in one.
What about like Polymarket and all these things that Polymarket, Kalshi, FanDuel? But like it's all bad to what extent, and then like to what, like obviously you're okay with it, right? It's bad, right? But you're okay with it. So is it really bad if you're okay with it?
Yeah.
Really? Because like, so
hold on. I don't want to criminalize. I don't want to criminalize cheating, but I think that's bad.
Yeah, but to the amount that like online gambling is bad, and how it affects the entire country, right? Like this is
infidelity affects the entire country.
We're I remember 15 years ago there were ads against gambling, especially online gambling, where like the little girl was like, my daddy lost their house to online gambling. That's like we were very anti-gambling now. Yeah, but like now we're kind of flipped. So it's like you can say that it's bad, but like it's so hyper promoted that it is good, right? It is recognized as a good in this country. Whether it be Kalshi, Polymarket, FanDuel's, like at a certain point, like if the president is hosting the UFC event, which is like I think their sponsors FanDuel, or not FanDuel's, but they have to have some stake or something. One of them is
for sure. I'm sure.
Right? Like it's pretty intertwined. So it's not just bad, right? Like bad is kind of minimizing the issue, which is like,
I think we should do.
Which is what happens. We normalize it, we minimize it, and then like it becomes this huge issue that we can't get a hold of because we don't want to make something illegal.
Well, I think we should do what we did. So with cigarettes, similar situation. They're powerful for a while. They were socially accepted. Not so much now, but we never banned them. I think we should kind of go somewhat of a similar
flavor
route.
bans. There's
well,
menthol, like menthols are banned in certain flavored vapes are banned in certain states.
In certain states, yeah, I oppose all of that. Those are the types of actions that I oppose. One of the things I am in favor of is like educating children on why smoking is bad. Educating children on why gambling is bad. I'm fine with that too.
Aren't we talking about imposing a after a certain point on your license you can't buy cigarettes at a certain we're trying to
I know the UK right? I think did that. That's an awful idea and I oppose
Why is it an awful idea?
Because adults should be able to do things that might harm them because they're adults. I don't need the state telling me that they're my dad.
Yeah, but the issue is you have the cigarette company or the tobacco company or whatever company is trying to get you to buy them acting as your dad at that point, right? Like they're pushing mass profit. Really?
I can tell them no. I don't have to buy their product.
The tobacco. You can to an extent, except if when you're indoctrinated from a young age to be using these products.
Yeah, you ban the ads for young people. The tobacco companies.
How do you ban ads for young people?
Well, with the tobacco companies, you can't advertise on TV. Because there's children that could be watching.
So the government's okay with you're okay with the government acting as your dad for advertisement?
No, I'm okay with the government acting in a parental figure towards children. I'm not okay with them acting in a parental manner towards adults.
If they're banning ads for kids, it would be banned ads for adults.
There's going to be some collateral
commercial TV.
You'd probably be okay with advertisements for cigarettes in strip clubs.
Sure, exactly. I'm okay with them in areas that are going to be geared more or bars, areas that are geared more towards adults, right? And the kinds of media like YouTube Kids shouldn't have any kind of cigarette commercials or gambling ads. That shouldn't happen. I'm in favor of segregating the space between adults and minors as much as possible. And I think the idea of limiting what kind of ads can I don't want alcohol ads beer ads on TV. I think that those should not be on any kind of kids channels. Those should not be aimed towards children in any which way. We should be very restrictive.
Football games? Or at football games?
Yeah, this is where it gets a little bit difficult because we do allow beer ads during football games.
Should children be allowed to watch football?
They probably should. There's you're not going to have a perfect regulation.
But they should think drinking is really cool and heavily associated with American.
No,
American
I don't
culture.
want them to. I don't want them.
If you want to be ingrained with this sport, if you want to watch a sport, you should be drinking a Miller Lite.
I don't want them to. This is
that's
part of
happening.
This is part of the trade-off. Yes, we can do our best. Just like there's going to be some kids that are going to buy alcohol underage. We do our best to gatekeep and to put some safeguards in place to minimize as much as possible children being exposed to this. They're going to get exposed to it in some which way. They're going to see people drinking at a bar. They're going to see their parents drinking. They're probably going to see somebody smoking.
They're not going to see
They're going to see.
They probably shouldn't be there.
Okay, maybe in my state that's a common thing.
Oh, okay.
It's a thing that happens. They're going to in restaurants. You go to Olive Garden and mommy gets a glass of wine. This is going to be something that you're going to see. We do our best to educate children as much as we can to counter the kind of influences that exist within society that get them to think that it's cool and glamorous and all of that. But no, I'm not in favor of creating this sort of, think of the children's state where we're not allowed to do shit because some kid somewhere might see. I'm not in favor
think of the adults, right? Like how healthy do you think it is that we're encouraging gambling addiction, right? To where the average person nowadays,
it's not healthy that we're encouraging people to eat McDonald's.
Yeah, okay, so it's not healthy for the society. So where do you think the society heads if we're encouraging more and more people to do things, McDonald's, gambling, and so on and so forth? Where do you think your society or your country ends up?
I mean, look, overall, it's bad. When those kind of things, in terms of just the actual impact these substances do have an effect on people, and I would include gambling here as a sort of pseudo substance, perhaps not really, but sort of.
I'm just talking about the mass loss of money.
I'm
talking about financially destructive.
Yes,
it doesn't have to be health.
I'm not saying it's good, right? But it's a kind of bad. Arguably, your health is more important than your finances. They're intertwined. They're intertwined in many which ways. I get it, but I'm saying that there's a thing you can do as an adult, and it's going to have some negative ramifications on some part of your life. Should the state come in and say, hey, you're not allowed to have a motorcycle, you're not allowed to drink beer, you're not allowed to smoke cigarettes, you're not allowed to eat fast food, you're not allowed to gamble, you're not allowed to do this, you're not allowed to do that, and that's not the kind of world that I want to live in. It's just not. If I want to make a dumb decision and go gamble $50,000 on black, As an adult, that's my decision. If I want to smoke weed, that's my decision. If I want to jump on a motorcycle, that's my decision. And I don't want another adult, telling me what I can or can't do with my own body. This is the foundation of bodily autonomy at this point. When you think of abortions, are like, that's a much more difficult conversation because there's arguably somebody else involved, like the fetus. But when we're talking about shit like this is entirely my body, my choice. It's the ultimate question of bodily autonomy.
I've posed this before, and I think I remember your answer, but just to double check. So then, you're against the type of I don't know how, I imagine it probably varies state by state. I don't know if this is a federal thing, but like, you know, your typical, you know, whatever bartender scenario of like the bartender cutting you off after a certain point. That you're not in favor of that, as in you should have the choice to make the poor decision, you know, get in your car drunk.
Yeah, I think that bartenders should be able to serve you till you get drunk. Which, by the way, I don't even know, like, have you guys ever been cut off by a bartender ever?
I don't drink.
Never needed to.
Okay.
I never needed to be cut
You never
off.
needed to? You never been blasted drunk at a bar?
I mean, well, at that point, I'm not getting more drinks.
Well, I mean, I would think that if you're blasted drunk at a bar, at some point,
I've been kicked out of a bar before. I've been kicked out of a bar before. If that's what your question is.
Okay, but was it for being too drunk, or was it like because you got in a fight with somebody?
Yeah. No, I was way too drunk.
Our cousin Ali doesn't get into fights.
Maybe this is just like maybe my state.
Yeah, if I'm too drunk, you're causing a disturbance. Like the other patrons at the bar who paid to be there, who are paying to be there, are being annoyed and disrupted. Like, yeah, you're fucking with people. You need to get kicked out.
So this is like this might be just like a cultural divide, because I recognize that my state is particularly different than perhaps the rest.
Pro-alcoholics.
Yeah, it's pretty. I have been beyond drunk at bars. I have never been cut off, ever. I have never had a bartender tell me that I couldn't have another drink. Crazy. I have.
I don't know what the actual laws are. That's
like alcohol poisoning is
technically there are some laws in this, but like the enforcement is so
because it's difficult to enforce. But
yeah, it's so lax. Like I don't know. I have been many
in principle,
occasions.
You're against those laws.
Yeah, because they've never been enforced against me, and I'm fine.
What are the rates of drunk?
No, you're not fine.
I am fine. I'm just dandy. I'm doing great. I love my life. I'm doing fantastic.
Even though you have the body of a 60-year-old, you have to crack your neck. Yes, you're doing fine.
Yeah. Oh, that's not because of that. That's because my fucking posture sucks.
Like a 60-year-old.
Because I'm hunched over. You know, fucking. That's what it is.
Books all day.
Yeah, reading books. Books are the fucking cause of my health issues. Should ban books. Yeah.
Now we're talking.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't want to live in a fucking, like, this is the same kind of paternal, and look, I'm not, the right wing in this country has been pretty hypocritical on this. Like, oh, we care about freedom, and we don't want the nanny state, the you know, daddy government, mommy government, but you can't smoke weed because say no to drugs, only dopes do dope. That's bad for you.
You can't buy a Kinder Egg.
You can't buy Kinder Eggs. Don't get me started. Like there's a reason I don't fight you on any of those questions, Corey, because I think that these are examples.
All about freedom.
Yes,
right?
Yeah, exactly. Because these are examples of, I think, unfortunately, American hypocrisy, where we claim to care about freedom and then we turn around and do the exact opposite. And the laws against marijuana are a great example of this. Our laws against Kinder Eggs are a great example of this. And I don't want our laws on gambling, which historically have been, I think, way too harsh, actually, to the point where we sort of relegated this only over to Native American tribes in many places. I think it's a good thing that we remove the Native American cartel on gambling, and we allow people to engage in bad decisions on their own.
On their phones with notifications.
On their phones with notifications. Hey, look, there is a stopgap. If you can keep paying your phone bill, then clearly you have money to gamble. Okay, obviously.
It's not just Wi-Fi that you have to use.
Oh, and by the way, I'd be happy. We can even. I'll help you out even further. We can make government benefits contingent on you not engaging in these activities. How about that? If you want food stamps, you can't have a gambling account. If you want food stamps, you can't be buying alcohol. How about that? I'm cool with that.
No. I'd be willing to concede this. I would be, right? As long as we look at the other direction, right? For government contracts, for any government benefits or any government disbursement whatsoever, right? The people in charge can't be engaging in gambling. You would agree, right?
And they have to be sober.
I think government contractors. I think that it could be in a way that's like one-sided, perhaps. Then maybe if it's like a fraud. But like my understanding is most government contractors are getting paid to do something, like to do a job, as opposed to welfare recipients that are getting paid to exist.
Getting government funds. I don't want you to be a gambling addict.
Yeah, to exist.
They're being paid to usually stay above water so they can still work.
To exist.
Because oftentimes they're still working any which way. So
they're
they're on Social Security.
Yeah,
right?
Which is a welfare program we shouldn't pay into.
Yeah, but okay. Oh, okay, that's fine. Right.
Going back to Social Security is bad.
So
it all comes full circle.
Like any government disbursement. In fact, for any person doing a government job, right? Including our politicians, yeah. Like maybe
the postman can't buy a booze.
Yes,
no, that's ridiculous.
Why not? Oh, why not? It's putting government money. My tax dollars, Lactoid, right?
Because they're getting it's a salary for a job. They're doing some kind of service.
Go get a second job to fund your drinking. Go get a second job to fund your gambling.
If you're part of the military, because this is literally how you can be undermined, right? Like a person within any sensitive position who has a gambling debt. Actually, this is a big problem. They can be undermined by a foreign adversary. So you would also say for the military.
Okay, maybe the military then. That's a strong argument for military and politicians.
The president shouldn't be able to drink, gamble,
and not.
Yeah, true. We don't want drunk soldiers. We don't want. Smoking soldiers are going to cost the VA more money.
Politicians
too. I don't want drunk politicians.
Sure. Look, you want restrictions on politicians, you're not going to get an argument
in a sensitive area, right? Like
sure.
In a military.
These are good arguments actually. Sure.
Yeah. Okay. Fair.
Yeah. I can look. If it comes on like shitting on government people, you'll be able to win me over on some structured and sound arguments. You will. But I'm saying that as a red-blooded American, if I want to go buy a beer and gamble some bullshit on steak or whatever the fuck, can we even say their names? Should I even be? Okay.
Yeah, I think you're fine.
You might just be talking about the meat steak.
We're talking about the company.
And I also, and to be clear, like the advertisements are obnoxious. I think the kind of, maybe this is just me getting old. Maybe like Corey says, I'm 60 now or whatever.
You're middle-aged.
These fucking broccoli-headed tweens, these Gen Zers that are like
Gen Zer?
No, I'm not.
You may be barely a millennial.
Barely. But these disgusting children that are fucking,
Lactoid's hair's not curly enough.
Yeah, and they're like
almost there.
They're saying all these strange words and they're doing all these weird dances and listening to all this weird music, and I'm scared. I don't like it. And I'm watching these videos of gambling ads, and they're all obviously pretending to be all hyped, shoving this in your face on their 3-second short content form bullshit. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy, and they objectively have fewer friends than we do, and they objectively have a lower attention span than we do, and it comes to social expediency, social interaction. I think in many ways they're worse. Fair,
seems like it.
All fair. You can yell at them for this. You can throw eggs at them for this.
I think the attention span thing is completely overblown. That this is another one of those
I don't agree with
media moral panics. About attention span about something, right?
I've noticed it myself.
We're picking attention span. Well, I mean, I've noticed it in you too, but I don't think it's specifically because of social media.
What's that supposed to mean?
No, wait. What do you mean?
Were you paying attention?
Let me explain. What I mean by this. In high school, I was a huge fan of the game Axis and Allies. Great game, and I had the patience and the attention span to sit down with my group of gangly nerd friends, and we played that game.
That's not very nice thing to say about
your hours. Friends. I was one of them. Same thing.
You can't.
And we played the game for hours and hours and hours and hours. We played that over and over and over again, and it's a game that requires focus and intention and all that. We tried playing there, and I forced myself to do it, but there are so many distractions. It's so hard, seriously, to focus on something as simple as a board game, because when it comes time to strategize and think, you just want to pull out your phone and scroll through some bullshit. I think this is real, and I think that the studies show this is real.
But no. This is different, right? This is, hey, you can be distracted, not your attention span, right?
But I get used to it. Even when I don't have my phone, I get used to it. I'm like, where's my the first thought is, where's my phone? Or I wonder what's happening there, or blah. Like there is like a mental thing that I've noticed in myself, and what the studies show that attention span of younger people is getting worse. So I am anecdotally experiencing it. The studies show it's happening. What more?
Lactoid is correct. There's like the data is maybe not the most robust, but there's preliminary data showing.
I know, I agree. There's some things that get reported, but like
it's intuitive.
Well, what do you mean by reported? I don't
have studies. I'm not prepared to make this argument, so I'm just going to leave this alone for now. I don't want to distract us. I don't want to do the distracting thing. That like
I'm doing it right now.
I said one thing, and he just goes off on a tangent. He can't help himself.
No, I'm sorry, but like this is again. But the reason why I'm bringing this up because I don't think it's overblown, and I think it's a real thing. And I think, unfortunately, like it's having a negative impact on our culture, and I think it's having a negative impact on our society. And I think it's a good thing when people can sit down and focus on something for more than 10 seconds.
And Lactoid, what would you do about that?
Here's what I would do about it. Children, for whatever reason, we restrict heavily the kind of short form content that children can consume. We make it more similar to what China does to their children.
Oh, really? Huh. Okay.
Pro Russia, pro China, Lactoid.
I'm not saying no. Instead of the pro China shit, we replace it with
at least in regards to how we raise our
Everyone clip that out. We do what China does.
It is long. We make it long form. Pro-American propaganda. Okay, so there's like a 50-minute documentary on the life of Abraham Lincoln that pops up on their TikToks, unskippable, and they have to take a test at the end of it in order to go to the next fucking video. That's what TikTok becomes in America. And then before you know it, all these fucking broccoli-headed tweens are gonna be fucking smarter than anybody. It's gonna be great. Where I totally reverse the reversal of TikTok, of the fucking IQ
That's how you kill TikTok.
Would you enforce haircuts on those broccoli-haired individuals?
Cuts for everybody.
It's a step too far, but man,
they can have their broccoli hair, just not their thoughts.
They can have their broccoli hair. Just they got to improve the thing that's underneath it. Okay.
So okay, once again, distraction.
So, am I wrong though? It's a little bit of distraction, but am I wrong? Like, do you want?
I actually
thank you.
No, I do have problems with what you said, but like I'm gonna push that aside because again, I'm trying to like put you back on track, and you're proving your point is that you can't focus.
Hold on, I gotta check my phone. Give me a second.
And didn't you invest in one of those foldable phones?
Yeah, I traded that out.
And you like brag about it, or at least you did.
Yeah,
it was fucking dork. You gotta flip.
I had one. I traded it
dork.
Out. First of all, it was fun. It was a novelty though. Like it got more inconvenient than just like a regular phone. Like it's actually just more like it's more convenient to be able to pull out my phone and just like press a button as opposed to pull it out and then having to flip it open. And so like over time, it was just.
You were flipping it on panel, saying, "Ooh, look!"
No, I know. It was impressive. It was cool.
And then you don't have that bend in the middle of the screen.
I look very fun tech. I'm not saying it's not cool. I'm just saying that like it's one of those things where it's fun for like the first couple months, and then it's like, okay.
Then I need something new to distract me.
Then I need something more practical. I think this is a great example that not every innovation is useful, even if it's super high tech and cool.
Foldable screens are cool, but like what's really
no I think you can maybe find different use.
Back to your point. What happened?
He's reading about how we're right.
To me? No. So I was waiting for you all to book some of my words and whatever the hell you guys were talking about. Okay. I think that well, I don't want to focus on what I think yet. Like we can move to that in a second. I want to focus on what you guys have been saying. Okay, so so I started this off right. The first thing after you guys gave your intros, I asked Lactoid about his thoughts on gambling. And the point wasn't to move us on to the gambling topic. I do want to focus on this website. But I was making the parallel between moral rot, I guess. I don't know, whatever. Things that degrade our society. So Blackwood made his stance clear, and that's fair. Okay. but that seems to be one of the things that you guys have a problem with, right? You guys saying, being Ali and Corey, right? Like it seems like you're saying that, like morally, this is compromising, right? Like paying people to like get up to all kinds of nonsense. Is that true?
Yeah. So let's say pushing it to the extreme, and I've posed this hypothetical to Lactoid, in terms of like, and Lactoid I think was on board with it, of like, if the United States gets to the point of like holding gladiatorial games, do I think that's a good thing? I think no. Lactoid seems to have no issues with it. I'm curious if other people feel the same, but I don't think if it gets to that point, that's a reflection of a good functioning society.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. Because in order one for you to get to that, a majority of people have to be normalized to it. And if we're at the point where we're normalizing something like a fucking gladiators fighting, I mean, yeah, your society's kind of dwindled. And I think the issue when it comes to like from people like Lactoid is they see themselves as like in the future, I'll be one of the rich who are in control versus one of the disenfranchised who may be a gladiator themselves. And so that's kind of like the issue.
I think you're muted, Lactoid, or I don't know. I can't hear you.
I was. I think that we currently have like, it's not like to the death, but we currently have like MMA, boxing. We currently have
I don't think that's all that great.
I know you don't think that. We currently have this sort of like pseudo gladiatorial shit where people are fighting to the point of serious injury for entertainment, and I wouldn't,
because they want to.
Yeah, I would have the same standards for dueling or gladiatorial work,
but not because they have to. Like in the same way that like,
I would have the same standards for gladiatorial work and dueling, where nobody would be forced to.
People voluntarily. I'm not talking about whatever a slave. Not that
exactly.
Hopefully, it doesn't get to that point. I'm talking about like someone who through let's say truly voluntarily subjecting themselves to being.
But you're against like the existence of like MMA combat in general, right?
Well, so as in like, would I outlaw it? I don't know that I go to that, but like I don't think it's more or less somewhat similar to, I don't encourage watching it. I think it's a reflection of a society moving in the wrong direction. I think there's something a little bit nefarious of like, if you're getting entertainment, watching people hurt each other, even as for a sport. And I can appreciate the training, the athleticism, the technique that all goes into it. Like I only watched one MMA person, which is GSP. Okay. It was but that's because like he's from my province. But aside from that, once he retired, I stopped watching. And I only watched his pay-per-views. And even then, arguably, his pay-per-views towards the end were some of like the most boring and most technical. He never really like knocked anybody out during the end. But all that to say is like, yeah, I don't think combat sports are like getting more, because I don't know how much people remember of like in the beginning, the UFC, like whatever UFC 1, that was like a very controversial thing back in the day. And that was like sort of like underground, definitely not mainstream, right? It's only fairly recent, I don't know, past 10, 15, 20 years that UFC has become mainstream.
It's gotten huge.
But it has had to regulate itself. As in the beginning, it was like literally, I think it was like no holds, or like this one, like 1 or 2 rules, like whatever, no groin, whatever striking, and no poking the eyes. That's about it. I don't think they had weight classes in the beginning. But like, but even then, even though it's moderated, I don't think it's great.
But if you don't think it's great and you're okay with like using laws to restrict the existence of things based on like, I guess it's immorality in terms of like people viewing it, in this case, combat sports, like I guess, why are you cool with banning gladiatorial shit? Because like, oh, that's like a terrible society, but you're not sure you quite get on board with banning MMA, even though you also say that it's like bad for society.
Yeah, that's a fair question. So just like, even though I'm sure everybody knows, I've said it multiple times of like, I somewhat jokingly say ban football. Am I truly in favor of banning football? As of now, no. But like, I might get to a place where, as of now, like what, 40% in favor of banning. I might be tipped over to like 51%. But all that to say is like, I think we should be on the same page that actual gladiatorial games is a higher stakes games than MMA.
Yeah, it's higher stakes. So it's just the scale to you. Like something, it's like okay, fair enough. Yeah, to me, it's. I would say that it's like it doesn't meet the threshold, but I'm not even sure I really have one. Honestly, I mean, maybe you could come up with something, perhaps, but like if we're talking about hey, yeah, gambling not good. That obviously to me it's been around forever. I don't see it as so destructive as to
that's not
fundamentally undermine society.
A good argument.
Like, okay, I'm sorry, but like I'm looking all the objective economic stats. We're still doing better, despite the fact that gambling has increased pretty dramatically. I agree with you. It's not good, but like, in what way is it stymieing our society? In what way is our society broken now because Kalshi's like every other fucking ad?
I mean, you could say that just about. Well, I mean, then just about more. You should have no complaints about anything in society because like everything is functioning.
No. I'm saying that like to me, it would seem that if we're gonna have the standard of we have to ban it because otherwise like society that's not the kind of society I want to live in. It's like what a dystopian kind of libertarian hellscape.
Well, I didn't say dystopian.
Okay, but that's like the implication. The implication here is like this is like a dystopian future that we want to avoid. But like, here we are, and arguably there's like a lot of vices that we've gotten better on, right? Without banning it, just through education, and some regulation, especially around children getting it. Cigarettes, smoking rates are down considerably since the 50s.
I would argue it's just migrated to vaping.
That's not true. Nicotine usage has dropped considerably from the 50s in general. But second of all, vaping is much healthier than combustible tobacco products.
On average, yeah. But like, if you want to argue that it's an improvement, sure.
That's what I'm saying. Like there was a point in society in which we drank more. Drinking's at an all-time low. There was a point in society in which we smoked more. That's because of the broccoli-haired
people.
Yeah, look, sometimes they do the right thing. I got to give them some credit here and there. Okay, so they're good on that front. They smoke a lot more weed than previous generations. It seems like that's actually probably driving a lot of the decrease in alcohol consumption, really. But they smoke a lot more weed. Doesn't seem to have comparable, I suppose, terrible consequences. They're drinking less alcohol. They're smoking a shit ton less cigarettes. Overall nicotine usage is lower.
Cigarettes are making a comeback with Gen Z.
I don't know if you're tracking that
with the I think
Gen Z's been picking up OG cigarettes lately.
I'm talking about the stats. The stats show that like overall it is better than the 50s, in which every fucking place smelled of smoke. It was glorious. They were smoking in airplanes.
You think
they were smoking
glorious?
Unfiltered Lucky? Yes, it was incredible. They were smoking unfiltered Lucky Strikes in airplanes. No, but if I was in the 50s, I probably would be.
Yeah.
What a life! You can sexually harass your secretary with a Lucky Strike in your mouth, and the cops wouldn't fuck with you.
Yeah,
back when men were free.
I mean, like
that's the utopia.
And the cops
back when men were free.
The men in Lactoid's position weren't fucked with by cops. He could send the cops.
To harass anybody I wanted.
Black neighbors, yeah.
Hey, sir, you should go check out their car. It looks a little bit suspicious.
Yeah.
Back when white men were free,
we gave it all up.
Officer, some guy.
We gave it all up for women and septum piercings.
It's like, looking suspicious. But no, I wouldn't say that about my friend Lactoid. But like, well, actually, I mean, I guess I was just going to agree with you that, fucking Lucky Strikes. they were just like,
which are delicious, by the way. But continue.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm a Newport guy personally, man.
Have you ever had Lucky Strikes? Are they still around?
Yeah, they do. They still make unfiltered Lucky Strikes, unfiltered Camels. They're the best. They taste like maple syrup. Newports are okay.
Yeah, I don't think global nicotine use is down.
No, American.
Okay.
Globally, it's probably going to be up because of Indonesia.
Could it be that smoking? Because I don't think American nicotine use is down. I feel like people are zinning, people are vaping, people are still smoking cigarettes, hookah, whatever it may be. I doubt that nicotine use is down.
Let me look it up.
Like, if you say smoking, sure, but it needs to include like all forms.
I just think we're underestimating how crazy half of Americans smoked in the 50s, in the 60s.
And vaping rates are quite high across the United States.
Yeah, it's not half though. It's not half.
Well, specifically vaping, but nicotine use in general. Like there wasn't really alternatives to cigarettes in the 50s, right? Like everyone would have to smoke a cigarette or not smoke.
No, there was dip, there was pipe, cigars.
Your heavy smoker was like whatever, I guess maybe a pack or 2 packs a day, as opposed to like vape. You can do that like throughout your entire waking life, practically. I think people do.
The vape thing, the argument that it's better for you
life.
is because it's non-combustion, but my argument that it's worse is because like quite literally everyone I know that has a vape is just like from dawn till dusk. It is just so they're laying down in bed, falling asleep to it, and waking up to it. So it's like it's better in that like you're not smoking a cigarette, but like the amount of nicotine you're consuming and the amount of like vapor and like smoke you're exhaling is still going to be pretty bad.
Yeah, hold on.
I don't know. But again, I'm just doing a cursory search. Nothing really stands out as.
Yeah, cigarettes dropped massively. And
I'm not disputing that.
The robot's saying that nicotine usage dropped, but it's not as clear exactly how much.
Okay. Which robot?
ChatGPT, not the Hitler one.
Chipta?
Okay. So it's not definitely not clear cut that nicotine usage is down.
Okay, so it's not as clear cut that it went down as much as cigarette usage, but the most dangerous.
How much did it go down? How much did cigarette use go down?
Massively.
Yeah, that I'm not contesting.
Massively.
I just wanted.
77% reduction.
Damn. Yeah. All right. Cool. That's crazy.
Hold on. In terms of nicotine absorbed from cigarettes, it's estimating because there's fewer smokers and the smokers that smoke less. So it's not only that there's fewer smokers, but like, I mean, think about it. In the 50s and 60s, I mean, there was a much higher percentage that were smoking like a pack or two a day. They were much more likely to smoke unfiltered, and they're more likely to smoke everywhere. Right now, the smokers, there's fewer of them. They smoke less per day.
Cigarettes aren't everywhere like they used to be. You can't just like reach to your left and grab a cigarette.
And I'm not, and I'm not saying that like we don't have like vapes are big. Surely, like vapes are bigger than they were in the 50s because they exist now for sure. But I think that these things are dramatically healthier than cigarettes. And when it comes to nicotine consumption, cigarettes are uniquely dangerous. These are like the worst kind. This is the worst kind of thing.
I agree in terms of nicotine consumption.
Yeah, and this was the biggest thing.
But they're so good.
I know. They are. They are. So I'm not denying that. Good. I'm not denying that. I'm not denying.
Corey, I know you're looking at me weird, but like there's something in cigarettes. I don't know what the fuck it is, but there's something in no. Yeah. Well, nicotine. Okay, whatever. Nicotine has to be the especially out of it's 5 minutes of bliss. Listen, I get the all the negatives. For those 5 minutes, you're doing all right. Okay, you're good.
Sure,
for those
you could say that about a heroin trip for that 45 minutes.
I still think a cigarette's better than a heroin.
You think? I've never smoked a cigarette.
I've never tried heroin.
I tried just about every opioid on the planet, not heroin.
I think there's a reason. I think there's a reason why addicts chief cigarettes. Like that's
there's a reason why half of America got on it. Okay, there's a reason.
Yeah,
it wasn't.
Well, it's also the fact that it's legal. Like
no, I know, but like there's a reason why like half of America was like, oh, I'm gonna make this a thing I do every waking moment of every day of my life. It's not because they suck, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
But they're bad for you, so kids don't do it. But no, Ollie's 100% correct.
Oh, look at the adult telling someone what to do.
No, yes, I'm telling the kids not to do it. I'm not telling an adult not to do it. I mean, I'm saying you probably shouldn't, but I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to be like, no, I'm going to ban you. Look, if you want to buy, if you want to buy some fucking cigarettes as an adult and you want to smoke them, that's up to you.
Okay.
Do you want to go back to the website?
Well, I mean, same concept. Same concept. If you want to get paid to have like a fucking dick drawn on. Tattooed
let me see how far it goes. Because like tepid.
I'm already okay with death. So I mean, let's see.
Oh, you're already okay with death. So like
tepid harassment, you'd be okay with. That's why I mentioned the gladiators.
No harassment. No.
Tepid harassment, you'd be okay.
Harassment of other people, like that are not part of the exchange. No.
I mean, if I'm going into a McDonald's and screaming at the top of my lungs, at some point, someone's going to feel.
McDonald's. Yeah, McDonald's can trespass you.
Yeah, but after the fact, right? I still caused the scene, I still did the thing, and then I had to get trespassed, or I just ran out and I left.
Yeah,
right?
I don't think you should be arrested.
What if it's like two members agree to like meet up somewhere and fight?
Yeah, that's fine.
But like,
that's boxing.
No, not really. You can't just go fight in public. Once again, it's also
actually that's not true.
Disturbance,
no, there's actually plenty of states that have public combat laws, mutual combat laws. I don't
Where
know
I can just
exactly
go in
the
the
list
street
of-
and fight. Where is this like allowed or okay? Like in a real way. I
Sure,
understand
I'll
they
give
have
you-
the
I'll give you
laws
some
on the books in
states.
Texas, but I can't really go to Texas and
Yeah,
just
you
fight
can.
someone in the streets and the cops aren't going to intervene. That's not going to be the case. It's going to have to be at
if
some
it's
private
clear that both
facility.
people. So yeah, in Texas, if both people specifically consent to a fight, then they can. Now, most states, I'm like reading right here, apparently only Texas and Washington do it. So most states don't allow
and I'm
this.
saying even
I think
in
every
Texas,
state. I think every
even
state
in Texas, if you get into a bar fight, like if the cops are there, they're going to break it up, and chances are you're going to get arrested. And chances
because
are
it's not
there's going to
clear
be an
that it's
assault charge
consensual.
one way or the other.
No, because it's not clear that it's consensual. But like, if you were both like, beforehand, like, okay, I agree to fight. Do you agree to fight? Yes, I agree to fight. Like, let's make it mutual combat.
And you're okay with like if
that should be the law.
If this thing were to get
everywhere.
bigger, that like people like, because the way this
should
the
be
way
in every
this goes
state.
is that one, there's the legal aspect where like this website exists. There's also going to be the black market version. If this catches any traction, there's obviously going to be the black market version to this, right? Which you would say is you're against, which is like the illegal, like highly illegal stuff. But this would normalize that. And then I'm saying, like, even to your extent of like, you're okay with just people fighting in the streets because some crypto company decided to pay them $500 a piece.
Yeah,
right?
by the way, I'm also okay with like bum fights, for example. Like if you paid like bums to fight each other, that's cool too.
Well, I mean, I think you say that because like that in mass it's not really going to happen.
No, it's not going to happen because most people aren't, because people are limited in the resources, and yeah, it might be fun to pay people to go fight each other, but like. And we have industries for this, like boxing and stuff.
Well,
but
no, you don't even have to pay people though. That's what I'm saying is like nowadays, right? With just social media gratification, right? Look at the trends. Like there was a trend like last year where
this
kids
website
were slapping their teachers.
Yeah,
I know this one. I know.
Yeah, those kids should get in trouble.
This website seems to either normalize or be because of those other things that were normalized.
Yeah,
right.
Here we have the same rules that crowdfunding websites have. If it's illegal. If the thing that they're proposing is illegal, and by illegal in my sense of what I mean is like what should be illegal, so violating people who had nothing to do with the agreement, right? Slapping teachers, punching people in the street that had no idea what was going on. Yeah. Those sites should take down the request, just like for crowdfunding. They should take down the request, and they shouldn't do that. Yeah,
but I'm talking about the effect that it has on like greater society. So when you have a website like this, that like, you have to pay people, there's an age gap, whatever. Well, then, all right, cool. There's going to be like offshoots and trends where people are going to not get paid directly in money, but hey, they're going to get a little bit of clout, right? Until we ban 16-year-olds.
No, you just do your best to enforce against it.
How do you ban TikTok trends? Like, how do you do that?
No,
like these things
if
when
the
they go viral,
is,
people do them, and then we wait till after the fact.
If the trend is like infringing upon people, like the teacher slapping trend,
the teacher,
you're talking about, we make an example of these people who do it, and we broadcast that example.
I mean,
like
sure, but that's not like really stopping these like instances from happening now, is it?
I mean, a few levels of like
obviously
car batteries,
slapping your teachers already illegal. We like obviously these students understand.
No, well, I know, but these people know they got to get punished.
Yeah, but the amount of views, but yeah, they do get punished. They
publicly.
They recorded themselves. They recorded themselves. Yeah, they're obviously getting punished. Right?
Yeah, the level. But, like,
but I'm sorry. Stopping them from doing it. That's the level. Issue is that
I'm sorry. I don't care. I don't care. Overall violence is down. Overall violence is down. The number of pranks is overall down. If you compare it from like the fucking 70s and shit, like this is the thing that happened way more than it does now.
The number of pranks is down.
Yeah.
What do you mean the number of pranks is down?
Now this I don't have a fucking stat.
I don't even know where you get the statistic. That's not a real thing.
I don't have a fucking stat on that one.
What didn't that YouTuber just get shot like 2 years ago over a prank?
That doesn't go to what I'm saying. What I'm trying to say is overall violence is down considerably.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I am not all that concerned right now, unless it becomes to a point where it actually, like, if we start seeing like if half of people are being killed in America because of some fucking like new TikTok trend, maybe we gotta start taking a look at. Maybe we gotta start taking a look. Yeah, I don't. I guess you can add whatever nuance you want. I'm saying if the problem gets bad enough, then maybe we can look at more and more restrictive measures. Okay.
Wait till the problem gets bad.
Yes. Otherwise, otherwise what? The government can just preemptively ban things. What if weed's going to get so bad that all of us are high?
Preservation of your country is probably
let's just ban weed. Let's just ban weed.
Like maybe waiting
ban alcohol.
Maybe waiting till your country's like actually like fallen, and then be like, maybe we should take.
Sure, let's ban all gay sex because AIDS might become a big thing.
Well, then you're in the Scott camp of nuclear weapons for everybody.
Yeah.
No. What?
Why not?
Why not what? Because one nuclear weapon in the hands of like an irresponsible person.
You don't know that. You don't know that.
You don't know who's
beforehand.
Yeah, I do.
No, you don't.
Yeah, I do.
Oh, are you a
talking about?
Now? Are you a dictator? Do people not
have,
the
gravity of harm from one person, like drinking alcohol, or even a large group of people drinking alcohol, is nothing whatsoever compared to somebody with a weapon of mass destruction like a nuclear weapon. What are you talking about?
No, but because like you are coming from the place of like, let's say there's some new thing, as in this website is a whatever newer thing, and it's like, well,
it's not that. I mean, it's a concept of gambling, though. It's not really that.
Yeah, new. Sure, fair enough. But you seem to take the approach, like understandably, of like, do not intervene unless it becomes a problem, because like you can't make the prediction.
Yeah, or the risk of the problem, like the problem is so sufficiently great, and the risk of that that's is so sufficiently high that like you would.
But then how do you know? Well, that could be Ali's argument of he sees a problem so sufficiently high that something should be done.
I'm not
slippery
convinced.
Slope here.
And I'm just not convinced of that. I think most people would be on board with me in that giving like a thermonuclear weapon to like some dude is much more dangerous than allowing gambling. I think most people are going to
go. No, not allowing gambling. That's not what's happening.
So you have at least two sort of criteria, not just the one of like don't ban until it becomes a problem.
Well, no, it's don't ban until it becomes a problem. And what problem here means is that like either a massive harm or like a substantially high risk of substantially high harm. Like the risk itself can also be considered to be harm in my opinion, right? Like if I shoot somebody, they've experienced harm, but I can't point a gun at their face because now there's a substantial risk of them experiencing harm as well. It's not just,
I would call that.
If I shoot at somebody and I miss them, this should still also be illegal, even if I didn't hit them. Like if you expose people to a certain level of risk, I can understand that also being criminal, right? If the risk is like, if we're talking about like an aggressive action or the means to inflict an aggressive action upon somebody else, as opposed to something where the motivation for this is obvious. Motivation is not trying to inflict harm upon other people. It is the motivation here really is like we're going to do.
Make money at all costs.
Gambling. We're going to sell a product that people like to drink to have fun. Or in this case, pump.fun, we're going to advertise different cryptocurrencies, most of the time using like harmless like shit, like tattoos and dumb shit. Yeah, are you going to have people that are going to like as history in memoriam do dumb shit and like, cause public disruption? Sure. You criminalize that. You criminalize the people actually doing wrong as opposed to criminalizing all the people doing right.
So you...
Unless it's a nuke. Sorry.
So
I had to clarify that.
Okay.
You should, yes.
Good to know. Lactoid, you had gone to the obvious place I was going to go previously, right? Like, you proactively said that you are for bum fights, for allowing bum fights.
Allowing bum fights.
No, he said pro. He said pro.
Yeah, I think
you gotta stop doing this allow thing, cool. And you want to like advertise. You want people to be able to do it and make money off of it. Stop just go allow bum fights to happen,
That's
minimizing your
allow it.
No.
I would
encouraging and supporting is not just allowing, right?
I wouldn't encourage it.
Accepting
I would not encourage it. I wouldn't watch it. I would like say lament.
You would want it. You'd be okay with it being encouraged. But anyways, Prime, I didn't mean to cut you off. Sorry.
No, sorry. No, it's fine, guys. No problem. So I'm just curious as to how far we can push this, right? So like you're like, hey, we should have like Texas and the other state. I'm sorry, which one?
Washington, apparently.
Washington, thank you.
And I'm not an attorney in either of those states, so consult with an attorney before you decide to have a mutual combat fight in either of those states.
He's only licensed in Virginia.
Just want to be clear about this.
So,
and I'm not licensed in Virginia, by the way. Go ahead.
So, I don't know. I'm curious as to what the details of that mutual combat is. I'm not putting you on the spot. I'm just like curious what they might be. But would you be in favor of allowing people mutually to engage in combat with weapons?
Yeah.
Right? Okay, with weapons, and they can do as much harm to each other before murder. Is that okay?
They can do what before murder?
Can they do as much harm to each other before it gets to murder?
Yeah, like torture porn or whatever, sure.
Like torture porn. Okay, so you would say that like
like heavy BDSM shit, yeah, for sure.
No, I had don't put BDSM.
That's basically torture porn.
He said weapons and beating each other to the set within an inch of.
They're whipping each other, Prime.
Oh my God. Like, let's not do this to the kink community. No, kink community.
They're whipping each other. You know who else they whipped?
God.
Slaves. This is a form of torture.
Okay.
Cock and ball torture? They literally have torture in the name. I saw a video on Twitter of a Japanese woman, and she was stomping on this guy's dick while playing the piano.
Dodge.
What's in your algorithm?
Some shit, man.
Exactly what I.
What are you clicking on?
It's fucking drone combat footage in Ukraine and BDSM.
Exactly what I've always said about Lactoid. Is into some weird.
It's a lot of violence.
No bad bitches in your scroll.
But in any case,
cutie here or there. Sometimes, damn, bro, that's crazy.
I feel like a cuck.
Soldiers. I want soldiers in my feed.
Yeah, I feel like a cuck, like clicking on the fucking women, like, oh, they're getting what they want. I'm not a fan.
No, I get that, right? Like when it's one of those
feels emasculating.
Not that part.
But watching an Asian woman stomp on someone else.
That's funny. That's the difference. I'm not laughing at. I'm not watching that for like the sexual value. I'm laughing at that because I think it's creative and funny.
Anyway, I was gonna say I get what you mean. Like when you're scrolling through the website and like there's like a clickbait ad, but like you don't want to click on it, but like you're kind of a little bit interested. You click on it, and then you're like, it feels like a tiny failure, like, oh my God, they got me, right? It was some bullshit. But in any case, putting that aside,
never click on ads.
I was trying to make a distinction between what kink communities do, and like what you said specifically, like hardcore torture film.
Can I give another example, perhaps? One of the things I've been looking into, and this is somewhat related, but I've actually been interested. I've been like looking into the laws on this, and I have do your own analysis. Don't do it. Don't do this, okay? Because it might be illegal for some law that I'm not aware of. But it's not clear to me that it's actually illegal to walk around and hand out buzz balls, like those alcohol mixed with energy drink or whatever, and machetes to the homeless community.
I've seen this fucking TikTok. Don't do this.
I've seen this TikTok, and I laughed very hard. I had a lot of entertainment value from watching this guy hand out machetes to the homeless.
The whole video, the whole prop of that guy's page is like "keep the homeless," and he goes around giving homeless people alcohol and sometimes weaponry. And he goes, "All right," and he just hands it to them, and he just waves them off. And this is clearly not illegal.
Lactoid is actually like the example of the reflection of the society that I want to.
It's obviously not illegal to.
Is that not funny?
No, it's not funny because
it's funny.
No, because
they're handing out machetes to the homeless.
It's funny to you because
it's funny. That is the punchline. It's crazy. That's the punchline.
Yeah, but like to the people who like end up being harassed by the homeless person who's drunk who now has a machete. Yeah, youth. Once again, that part is funny to you, but like until it happens to you, and then you're like, we gotta get these people off the fucking streets. We gotta get these people away from here. It
probably wouldn't be so funny. Look, if I
you become a bitch when it happens to you.
Look,
you're
if
laughing
a homeless
when it's
guy,
not happening to you.
Unironic, yes. Yeah. This is probably true for like all those America Funniest Home videos where like the guy gets kicked in the balls. This is true generally. Yes, I do not want that happening to me.
There's levels to things, right?
But it's kind of funny. Yeah,
there's levels to things, right?
No, I like here's the thing. Like I agree that like handing out machetes to homeless people is crazy. Like
it's not crazy. It's fucked up when you're handing them machetes and alcohol. Considering like
I said it's crazy.
Homeless people.
Yeah. I know. It's crazy.
It's not crazy. It's harmful.
Well, I'm saying yes. That's what I mean here by crazy.
You find it funny, as in like this is a source of genuine humor for you.
No, I say, but like
You were laughing just
yes,
just
because the absurdity of it, the absurdity of the idea is funny to me. Like you're gonna find homeless people.
Of the situation.
The homeless people that are, yes, you can. There can be reality situations that are also kind of funny because they're fucking absurd. Like when I read some law about like some dictator, like when Kim Jong Un said or what was it? The story of Kim Jong Il was that he turned a pine cone into a grenade and he used it to blow up an American tank. Like, yeah, is this funny? It's an American dictator establishing a god complex to rule over his people. It's like, no, it's like, yeah, I agree, it's bad, it's crazy, but there's something like the absurdity of it makes me laugh. Like, there's something like painfully absurd about somebody going around to the homeless people.
Once you get past the absurdity,
going around the homeless people and handing homeless people who I'm sorry are fucked up the vast majority of the time.
Of course,
we're handing them buzz balls and machetes. And apparently, you could do a lot more than that, which is crazy.
Well, you can do whatever because as long as you give them legal things that are legally,
I know,
yeah, that's fine.
Yeah,
but like what I'm
maybe
saying
homeless
is,
people
like,
shouldn't be allowed to own these things.
Well, no. Maybe homeless people shouldn't be allowed, but like you can't really stop people from handing them stuff, right? You can't stop people from recording it. And the issue is like, yeah, it's funny, which then gets more traction, which then once again normalizes this type of activity. But then when it happens in mass and we have to wait until it becomes an actual problem. I mean, I don't know.
Like in mass, like a whole city of just like homeless, like Mad Max style.
No, it starts happening across the states because people think it's funny, so they start replicating.
Brian's laughing.
I know he's laughing.
Yeah, I don't think that's good. That says more about you.
Mad Max style. Like, what if you gave them like
this isn't really that like difficult.
You gave them like V8 engine cars. Just
happens.
Fucking what is it? The Purge in the middle of downtown New York.
I think it's one of those situations. Once again, it's funny till it happens to you or your time.
I know.
I think it's a ridiculous.
Like you can laugh at people. You can laugh at people like hanging, like when they're on the drug flock or whatever, when they're like hanging in the streets, or like when people are on fentanyl. Like, yeah, we can laugh at this because like it's not affecting us. But like, if we're going to talk about like the effect on like the greater society, I mean, eventually it's going to be in your backyard.
Look, it's not going to be in my backyard.
Because you think you're going to have a fortress. That's
the far enough away from the city.
It's just Lactoid thinks he's closer to Elon than he is to the homeless.
I am
getting the buzz ball. That's the issue. Is you think you're closer to Elon than the bum.
I am. In terms of like actual, like, no, I am.
In terms of like actual. What way are you closer to Elon than the homeless person?
I have a house.
What way? Yeah.
Yeah, the homeless people they don't have houses,
and that makes you closer to Elon just because you have a house.
That doesn't make you closer.
It does. Like, I have a roof. Elon has a roof. I have a car. Elon has a car.
You and him are the same person.
He's got a yacht. I have an inflatable dinghy. So he's a bit ahead of me on that one.
Economic disasters away, right? From being homeless.
That's not true. I have insurance.
No, that's an economic disaster.
When Elon's AI comes and takes your job,
you losing access to funds, access to your income.
Yeah, God, these things own stocks.
Lactoid. There are lawyers more successful than you who've ended up on the streets, right? Due to unfortunate circumstances.
Name
one successful lawyer.
You don't have one. That's all right. I'm taking advantage of your lack of knowledge. There probably is, but here's what I'll say. I think you're probably right. I would guess that 99.99% of those had some kind of drug problem. That's like
most have, but that's why I said economic stuff specifically.
Yeah, right. But
I hear you.
Yeah, it's like I'm not saying it's impossible. And to be clear, like it would be horrific if you had like roving bands of Mad Max homeless people, like hacking each other to death in the middle of the street with buzzballs. That'd be bad. It'd be really bad. And so
funny to you.
Well, you already have a bunch of like schizophrenic homeless people that harass
the reason why
in the streets. So, I mean, like this idea that it'll become en masse because
you're missing
the
point. You're missing the point. The reason why it's funny is because it's so fucking like absurd and crazy and rare. I think that if it started actually becoming a thing, it would no longer become absurd. It would no longer become like it would no longer become like obviously. No, handing out buzzballs and machetes to homeless people is rare. And the reason why that TikTok was funny is because it was the first time I ever entertained the idea of somebody doing that. Because the idea had never crossed my mind because it seems so crazy.
Yeah, but that guy gets plenty plenty of views, plenty of likes, and plenty
Yeah, but
of
if that becomes a big enough issue, if that actually became a big enough issue, like a thing,
you're gonna make it illegal to give homeless people alcohol.
No, it's gonna drop off. Like there's gonna be social media campaigns against it. Some fucking person's gonna die, and there's gonna be like a big thing made. Like it's gonna stop.
Maybe.
It's what's gonna happen. Now here's the other problem though, Ali. Like there is a interesting social commentary here where homeless people are adults, and we let them live on the street. Right? We don't like forcibly grab them and put them in institutions. But if they're an adult that can make decisions over their own life, why should it be illegal to give them machetes and buzzballs? I know it seems crazy, but they're just like you and me, Ali. In fact, as a wise man once said, I'm closer to them than I am to Elon Musk, apparently.
Yeah.
So why is it so wrong to give them when I can possess buzzballs and machetes?
Yeah. So why is it wrong to take the most disenfranchised people in our society who typically have a lot of mental illness and go around and just giving them alcohol and weaponry? Why is that wrong?
Yeah, if they are so mentally ill, maybe they should be in institutions. Maybe they should be in some nature camp somewhere, like growing.
It's not that they're so mentally ill. It's that they're mental ill. They have
machetes or any other weapons to anyone else, though. Right, like for me, I wouldn't. No,
Lacto just thought he had a gotcha there.
Yeah. Like I want to limit the number of weapons out there. In general,
you wouldn't give somebody
right?
like if you knew that I like guns, right? You wouldn't give me a gun as a gift ever.
Well, fuck you.
You think it's
you already have enough guns? Don't you say you have like a whole armory?
I thought I did.
Usually buy people guns as gifts.
And by the way, if I somebody closer to the homeless than I am Elon Musk can have guns, then maybe the homeless should be able to have guns too. Then, right? But see, that's not funny though. It's not funny giving the homeless people guns.
I don't think the homeless should be allowed to have guns. I don't think the homeless
why isn't it funny? Why isn't it funny to give
because there's something about like machetes specifically. I don't know. Like another funny
because it makes them
crazy.
Look like Somalian pirates and now
exactly. Yes,
and
unironically. Yeah. It's like here's another funny. Here's another funny thing.
Equally funny.
Right? Another funny thing would be like when I was in the hardware store and they were selling you could buy guns for hunting. They were selling hunting spears. And I thought how funny it would be is like, what if I bought a hunting spear and just like chase after a deer until I caught it? And so like you have people just in their house and they look out and they see a deer run and they just see me running behind it wielding a spear. Like that's funny too, because it's fucking crazy. It's absurd. The machete.
The running part is absurd.
Yeah, me running after a deer with a spear. By the way, I'm losing weight. I'm down 10 pounds from last week. I'm actually on a diet now.
Shout out
Corey.
to you.
What's your diet?
I don't eat anything after 4 p.m.
Some
and no junk food whatsoever. So I'm
on the Muslim regime.
Starving.
So no alcohol.
No, and I've stopped drinking too.
Well,
I've been sober for a week now.
That's very good.
Yeah, which sucks.
Become a Muslim at this point. Just fast during the day, eat at night. You can't have fun without
alcohol, right, Brian?
Pray 5 times.
No, I can have fun with alcohol. I can have fun without alcohol. It's just it's much harder. Okay,
that's a you problem. That says more about you.
No, you just don't know the fun of buzzballs or machetes.
I told you the Islamification of this panel is coming slowly but surely.
I'm fasting and not drinking alcohol.
Yeah,
inshallah. Like holy shit, I'm almost there.
Halfway there, mashallah, brother lactoid.
Inshallah.
Are the three of us the most Muslim as opposed to Ali? I think you probably drink Ali. It sounds like.
Yeah, but like.
Wait, Prime, do you not drink at all, Prime?
Prime doesn't drink.
No, I told you that many times.
Oh,
yes.
I must have been drunk. I don't remember. Corey,
I'm low-key Muslim. He just can't.
I've also mentioned Muslims that I do not drink.
Okay, so me and Corey and Prime are all sober, and then this drunkard fake Muslim up here, Ali. Wow. What would Muhammad think?
Shout out to the
we're closer to God than Ali, than our cousin Ali.
You guys are fake.
I mean, I'm fasting right now. I'm fasting right now.
Do you find it easier to fast than to just limit your whatever?
Yeah.
Okay.
When it comes to for me, well, first of all, two things.
He only understands oppression, Corey. Authoritarian rule or not?
No. How it works for me is I did some research into this. So although the overall like weight gain is pretty comparable as long as you keep the like daily calories roughly the same, stopping eating after a certain period of time especially like so you're only eating in the morning, has been associated with like some beneficial changes when it comes to your blood sugar, your ability to regulate blood sugar, insulin, stuff like that. So like there's some limited research, so there's some benefits
Fasting
in
is awesome.
like fasting, especially when you're fasting at night. The other thing is, and this is a big one, when the first couple hours after your last meal, like between the hours of like, so I usually last eat at like 4 probably, and then like 6 p.m. sucks and 7 p.m. sucks, like it really sucks. But then after that, it gets better, and really like by time to it like bedtime, I'm fine. It's not hurting too bad.
Water helps.
Yeah, and just drinking water, and then I'm just look forward to breakfast. No big deal. My heartburn, just from doing this, also not eating at night, my heartburn is a lot better.
Who knew taking care of your health would have benefits?
It's
almost like an absurd claim, actually.
I also have more energy throughout the day. Like I can like move easier.
Yeah, I wonder if there's any correlation with the alcohol intake.
I feel like
maybe better sleep and more rest.
No. I think it's I genuinely think it's the diet part, because like I do take like breaks from drinking just to make sure, like every once in a while. And this is the first time I've noticed
you're
like
not a raging alcoholic.
Yeah, like for example, like I did like
I'm an alcoholic.
I did a full dry January, for example, and I didn't notice any of this. Like the lot of things I'm noticing now is just from not eating after 4 p.m. That's been pretty big for me.
I hope you can be consistent with it.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks. I'm not gonna lie to you; it's like the worst, but it is
the worst. No, it's not the worst. You've never been starving. Yeah, get over it.
No, yeah, I'm not. Yeah, you're right. It's not the
starving
worst.
looks
Yeah,
like.
my stomach doesn't look like
subjective.
concave. I'm okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but
it's the worst for a middle class white American. Yeah.
You should have good, clean, sober fun. We should like hang out or something, and I don't either argue more or do something else.
Yeah. What do you like when you? What's the point of hanging out with people if you're not drinking? Like, what do you do?
Oh my goodness! I don't know if you're being like sarcastic or not.
You really
like,
can't do much after 7 p.m. if you're not drinking. I'm gonna be fair.
That's not true at all.
Well, in America,
I think
really not much you can't do that isn't a bar.
We're doing this. I think we're past 7 p.m.
It is a lack of creativity. I agree, Corey.
I mean, we can go like
everywhere you go in America, like after 7 p.m.
Yes, you can.
It's typically like there's a drink.
There are rock climbing gyms that are open all hours of the night.
Yeah, we could go rock climbing, Ollie. We could do that.
Yes.
Yeah.
You can.
But you can just talk, or you can.
Yeah, you can also just
lounges are a vibe.
Talk without alcohol.
I've had many conversations with Prime.
How are you gonna like take dramatic pauses and?
This is all part of learning social
when you're
skills.
Having a feeling.
I watch a lot of The Sopranos and stuff, and there's like a certain aesthetic I try to go for. Same thing with The Wire.
So you're modeling your physique after Tony Soprano? That makes a lot of sense.
No. I'm more one of the less fat ones, which was not.
I don't think there's one.
Yeah. Christopher Moltisanti's not too fat.
Okay.
But like The Wire, for example. Here, serious question, Prime. So you've seen The Wire, right?
Indeed.
Okay. So I've watched it more times than I can count. I got everything memorized. So in that scene, where Stringer and Avon, right, they're in their penthouse, and they're reminiscing about the old days, right? This is before, spoiler alert, or I'm not even going to say that, it's too much of a spoiler, but they're reminiscing about their olden days, and they have these glasses of Maker's Mark with the ice cubes in them, and the ice cubes are like clinking around as they're talking. You can't tell me that scene would have been better if they didn't have anything in their hands. That scene would have sucked.
The aesthetic
wouldn't have hit nearly as hard. The aesthetic absolutely hit hard. It hit so hard.
What?
You don't know the scene. You're not a fan of like a fan. You don't know what I'm talking about. You would agree.
No. Okay, so to be
clear,
I'll
send it to you.
Yeah. I
send it to the group. I'm curious, like what aesthetic.
You'll see.
So to be clear, like I don't. I mean, I watched The Wire and I love The Wire, but I haven't watched it a bunch of times, so I can't picture this particular scene right now.
I'm just a gangster, I suppose. That's the scene. I'll post it in the group chat.
Okay. I'll take a look. All right. So I'll
best TV
wait
show ever
until
made.
I take a quick look.
That's what I hear.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God! I got a Bitcoin commercial.
That's pretty ironic.
Sipping on some drinks.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm watching it now.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Listen to the clinking in the glass.
I
It's
hear
just
it.
ice.
Yeah, listen to the ice. Such a good scene.
He's taking another sip.
He's taking sips. Here, I'll post it in the.
Okay, I'm gonna since I'm not gonna have 3 minutes of dead air here, right?
Yeah.
I've seen what I need.
You
to
get the
see.
gist. Yeah, you know that
yeah.
it's better now because they're drinking alcohol, right?
No,
You're
it's
uncultured.
not.
I'm
You're
playing
uncultured.
through it.
They couldn't
You
have
don't-
had
you
a
don't get it.
lemonade, and it wouldn't have been better with lemonade or apple.
It
juice.
would not have been better with lemonade.
Wait a minute. What difference would have if they had soda right in there?
It would have
right?
been
They
worse.
had-
Oh, you're a
and
soda
with the
person?
ice and the clinking, right? Like in
Oh,
a glass,
soda's
with
pop.
ice and the clinking.
Soda,
And they
little
just-
fizz.
What difference, hon?
It would have been.
First of all,
It would have
you
been
might not even be able to
pissy. It
hear
would have been
that.
awful.
You might not be able to hear that.
Yeah, no, you
But,
can hear the ice
it
clinking. You
looks-
can hear that.
First of all, hold on.
I'm holding.
The thing that they actually drink.
I know
like,
it's not
actors-
actually the. I know.
So it wasn't. So you agree that the thing that they
No,
were
but it
actually
wouldn't make
top
sense,
wasn't
is what I'm
even
saying.
alcohol.
I would have to suspend my disbelief if I could hear the ice clinking, which makes the scene so much better. But I couldn't hear the soda fizzing. You can't have soda fizzing.
So hold on, but again,
You can't have. You can't have.
whether
fucking-
you can hear that.
Also,
or
Fago.
not
them
is
drinking,
debatable.
them drinking adds to the mindset that they're in, right? So, like, you have to think like these guys are
No.
drinking. Yes,
No,
Ollie,
you
so
guys are
right.
fucking
Ollie,
having an
so
alcoholic
right.
I think
beverage
this is the problem.
which
I think
changes
you're
their
just, like,
mindset
funky-
and the conversation.
Their brains
It
are
changes
polluted
the
with
way
alcohol.
they
You
are
haven't.
perceived.
Crazy.
You just haven't had a hard conversation with whiskey with a friend. That's what this is. That's
You're
like
right. I
something
have
that I
it.
can.
You can
Yeah,
have-
I
you can
can
have
relate
hard
to
But
that.
I've had plenty of
You can
hard
have it
conversations
without
right?
the alcohol.
Well,
That's actually how you learn how to have hard conversations. You actually
These
do
are
it over.
gangsters.
Yeah.
They're not going to pour a glass of Pepsi, right? That's going to shoot down every version. Everyone who's watching, they're not going to
Yeah.
be like, oh, these two guys are going to sit down and have a glass of Coke together.
you're
right?
just not
They're
from the
gonna have
streets like
something-
me.
They're going
Boy.
to drink something. They're going to drink something strong.
That's
They're
what
gonna
this
drink
is.
something memorable. Maker's Mark.
The streets of what? The streets of
Hold
Sweden.
on.
No, Prime and Corey just don't know the struggle, Ollie. They don't know what it's like to be in those kind of environments and to have those kind of experiences.
It's
like
a clip
we
of two
do.
black people.
Like, yeah.
No,
and apparently, I can relate more to
not
them.
just black people. It's not just black people. Two very specific black people.
Yes.
It's not just black people, right? Like
One of them is-
everything's
yeah,
in context, right?
Okay, look. What if it was the same scene? I will
They had
I'll say
apple
one
juice.
thing. I'll give
with,
Black
apple,
Chili
with,
one
a,
thing.
with a little
I
juice
think
box.
that like
Just a high C. Just-
Capri Sun. Yeah.
Let's just split a high C together.
and they stab the bag.
Yeah, man. the shit.
And you hear them like
It's like-
second like dry.
It's like detectives. It's like the detective.
And that
The
would be
detective,
good.
the detective going to the bar and having whiskey is like there's a reason why he's going to the bar and having a whiskey and not having apple juice at the end of his thing.
Or that
He-
scene
he-
from The Shining as well with the whiskey, dude. Ugh, there's so many scenes.
You remember a lot of whiskey scenes.
I
but,
do.
Like,
But don't worry,
Friend.
he's not an alcoholic.
It's,
not
it's a
good,
trigger
yeah,
for my
it's-
memory. Remember that.
So, friend, okay, like so.
Great
I,
cigarette
the
scenes
one
too, by
thing
the way.
I'll give you,
so
friend,
many good cigarettes.
is that like in terms of like sound direction, I think the ice clinking, like you pointed out, I think that's actually quite helpful. I think that's like
Mhm.
nice, you know.
It's very nice.
But beyond that, so I'll give you that. But I'm gonna put it aside. Beyond that, if these were two individuals who were like staring at each other intently, right, like discussing this big thing, we understood the gravity of the situation with that and going to war, people are going to die, right? Like, would the scene be just as good? Yeah, actually,
No.
right? Like if the setup
No.
was beforehand, of course it would be.
No, so
Of
no.
course.
So
You wouldn't have missed it. You wouldn't have missed
the
it.
thing with like gangs, the thing with like especially when it comes to like drugs and shit like that, is that these people aren't sober, right? These people are participants in whatever it is that they're doing. So when they're having like tough conversations when it comes to like war, like when the Sopranos, like they're having a drink, they're doing so whatever that it is that they're doing.
Yep.
That is part of that culture, and it's like to remove that aspect from it would be like just non-believable.
Yeah.
Like if these guys never have a drink of alcohol, if these guys never have a drug, so like or smoke weed, whatever it may be, they're like
or no cigarettes.
Like,
right?
Like, can you imagine Constantine is like instead of like
but we have
instead
that
of that
movie.
you have like some fucking
don't let them shift the goalposts because they're shifting the goalposts.
True.
I don't have to defend. Hold on. I don't have to defend a situation where they never drink in this show. Right, because I hear you when you say like, "Oh, it's part of the culture," and if you remove this thing, right, well, then like that makes it so less realistic. I agree with you, but that's not what I said. I know what the thing that we are. Hold on, that 1 second, Ali. Then you understand what I'm trying to say. Yeah. The thing that we're examining is this one scene, in this one moment. Is it better or worse, right, without the alcohol? That's how we're examining. These people aren't always drinking. I do remember that much from The Wire.
That's fair.
But they're not always drinking. So in this one scene, if you removed it, would it be just as good? Yes.
I think the drinking conveys stress. I think it conveys things like it's someone's pondering thought, and it's like it is a trope. It is a trope in like TV, especially in like these types of dramas where like the person is
thinking when they're under the influence. That's the
I mean, the idea is that like you're more loose, you're having a more like a more open conversation, right? Like you're more truthful, quote unquote. I'm not saying you're better when you're inebriated, but it's just, you know, your inhibitions are lowered, so you're more willing to be upfront with what's actually going on.
Well, yeah.
So like so like for the TV show, for the trope that is like someone having a drink, pondering a decision, whatever it may be, that there's a reason why they went with this versus just having a serious conversation and like panning over face to face. There's a reason why they went with this, and to Lactoid's point, it's the drinks clinking, right? And so like if the drinks clinking or the ice clinking adds to it, well then now you have to like what's in the cup that the ice is spinning in, and it's not going to be pop, and it's not going to be juice, and it's not going to be water.
You can have ice clinking within like that. That's what I'm saying. In a glass.
No. But what would they be drinking, right? Like for I'm not going to believe that they're having a cup of juice. I'm really not going to believe that they're having a Coke, right? The idea that that they're in this like I don't know specifically like where this is coming from, but the idea that they'd be having like a Coke or a Pepsi just isn't realistic to them having like a whiskey or something. Like that makes sense.
It's a tough it is a tough conversation, really, about the future of their organization, and you know, in every show and every kind of culture, and this is common amongst culture generally. Yeah. Like where there's like a tough conversation
because part of culture, you know that because part of culture,
the aesthetic is raised a lot.
If it's bad, I understand that. We're not examining if it's bad, and I can understand it's the thing that happens, friend. But like the what we're examining is it just as good whether it's there or not? So let's move on. All right, Pepsi thing. Okay, we're gonna not talk about soda, not talk about juice, right? Just removing the alcohol. Would it be just as good? Would it be just as like it would have just as much gravitas, right? Of the moment. Of course it is, because the main thing isn't about alcohol. It's about like the fucking war. Okay.
The alcohol is the addition. Like once again, Lactoid's point wasn't even necessarily the alcohol. He was really describing the drinks clinking. Or the ice clinking in the glass. And so what I'm saying is like the ice clinking in the glass requires the drink. That's about that, and that's why it makes the scene better for him. It's that if you remove the ice clinking, if you remove the drink,
no, Lactoid just has a disproportionate attachment to alcohol. Like if anything,
I think a lot of people do.
I agree. Yes, that's the problem.
Yes, I know. Yes. But that's why this is a choice, right? That noise has a response for people, and that's why the scene was like very specific to him. Right?
It's also the alcohol too. Like again,
I mean, I know, but like
setting the stage.
Really, I know, but like remove the clink, you'd probably say the scene wasn't as good too.
As good, it wouldn't be as good. It wouldn't be as good.
If it's not like, clinking, you don't get the full.
Or same thing with like Blade Runner too. Like when the replicant, like the beginning one, I forget what her name is, when she's smoking. Like when they're in that interview room and he's asking her, when Harrison Ford's asking her questions, and there's just like the smoke wisping around her face as she's answering. That scene
ever
would have been worse without cigarettes.
Let me ask you this: has there ever been a time you're sitting in a movie theater, right? Or it doesn't have to be a movie theater, I guess, but like you're watching a movie, right, or maybe some like big TV show. You're looking at a scene and you're thinking, "Oh, this feels incomplete because there's no alcohol or no smoking happening right now."
Depends on the type of.
I don't think he's ever had that thought.
I think the Irishman.
If I'm watching a gangster movie, like an old gang movie, and they're not smoking cigarettes and they're not drinking, I'm kind of like, what? Yeah. Like what part of?
You're not thinking that. You've never sat down.
They're usually drinking and smoking.
I agree that it's probably a little bit post hoc, but I think it'd be improved.
That's what I'm asking you though. Like, has there been a time that it wasn't happening on screen, right? And like it took you out of the scene, right? Hey, like this is happening, and I expect smoke.
Not that I can think.
I
don't think
exactly. Because
no, but like wait. But I can give you a bunch of shows where if you remove that aspect, it probably isn't as good. So like, what's the show Peaky Blinders? If they're not drinking and smoking cigarettes during Peaky Blinders, that's not as entertaining and not as believable if you're watching that show.
In Peaky Blinders where they're not drinking or smoking.
They are, yeah. Now imagine you strip, and I'm saying strip that from the show. Where like if they're
hold on. I don't have to defend that. I don't have to stop moving
because you're getting the film from it because it's a TV show. Obviously, they're smoking in more scenes than not.
Hold on. No. I don't have to defend that. Stop moving the goalpost.
Or minimize it.
I'm not saying strip it from the whole show.
I think maybe
actually minimize it then. Fine. Actually minimize it because in the majority of Peaky Blinders, they're drinking and smoking and there's some type of something happening. So if you actually minimize it to like a 10% of the show, you're not really ingrained in that show as much, I don't think.
Yeah, I think maybe you're misunderstanding. We're not saying that literally every scene needs to have this. What I'm saying is that like,
you're not saying
okay. What I'm saying is that like there are situations in shows, maybe not every situation, but there are situations in shows where the use of alcohol and tobacco can be used to signal certain things. And specifically with alcohol, I think it can be used to signal a kind of pondering, a struggle, a tough conversation.
I agree.
And that can be useful in ways where if there was a scene in which it didn't have it, I think it would be worse. And I can imagine scenes where I think could have been better with the implementation, like in the scene from The Irishman, in which they're all sitting, in Florida, when they're all sitting around the table. I think that may have actually been improved, honestly, because I thought that scene was a little bit weak. I think it may have been improved with like, some drinks potentially, some cigars, some drinks potentially. Now, one of them has a cigar, but it doesn't really like. I think drink specifically could have improved that whole scene, in my opinion. Right. So there are things I could imagine, but it's not like I can't really, and there's no movie that I'm watching in which like I'm trying to experience the movie, right? So I'm not going to be second guessing every single scene, like unless something that like really pulls me out happens, which is rarely going to be something that's like more detail oriented, like the addition of certain substances on the screen.
This scene can use some ice clinking.
Yes.
Yeah. So I do understand. You're not saying it's all of scenes. I get it, right? And I think you're correct in that, like, like as a visual representation, right? Like as part of the language of visual media, something, there's that trope where, having that glass, sitting, especially like either alone in a room or with a few other people, and this person is clearly deep in thought, and they have the glass, as they're like contemplating whatever it is, right? That helps set the scene. You'll get no disagreement from me.
Sure.
But like the claim that I was originally examining is like, is the scene worse without it? Right? Like, I think this, there are other like visuals signifiers you could use to like to say the same thing, right? To say like that someone is contemplating, right? There's other ways to like set a scene, to like arrange a scene. To do, but like you're just having some sort of random subjective ranking. That like,
yes, I am.
Well, my ranking is that they went with it.
You want like an objective stat table on this? We're talking about our opinions on movies and shows.
Prime.
Fair.
The judgment for me is that they went with the scene in this route rather than the other route, and I think there's a reason for it. And I think it makes this. It made the scene more.
I agree. There's a reason for it. Doesn't mean it's a good.
Well, what do you think the reason for it is, Corey?
Like everything that Lactoid said tracks in terms of my, like, if you're trying to capture, let's say, some general sentiments of how people think, whatever tough conversation should go, I can understand why you would include that. But also, like, I'm on the same page as Prime. Is like, if I can't go back in time and, like, if someone showed me this scene, or like this is with the same actor as a Plato and they didn't have drinks, would I know, like, would my experience of the scene be different? I don't think so.
Well, I mean, I trust the director sometimes, and especially if it's a show that's like good, right? And so so the director's choice in
the best show ever made in this case.
So I think it's fair to say that a depiction of smoking in movies and TV has decreased over time. Right? That's like a fair assessment. As depiction of cigarette smoking has decreased over time in film and television.
Sometimes to the detriment of the movies, yeah. Okay, movies have also been getting worse, by the way.
Then that would be
correlation.
There you go, correlation.
So, but yeah, then that would be the disconnect. As in, for me, there's no perceivable difference. As in, I still see high quality movies that, like, even though I grew up in the 90s and late 80s, so when cigarette smoking, maybe not as a peak, but it was still way more common. And even going back. Even a movie like Back to the Future, when I went back to like 1955, like I think there was only like one depiction of smoking in that movie, it was set in 1955, but I wasn't taken out like, oh, this is clearly not.
What was the demo? Well, Back to the Future is more of like a family film, right? And so like,
yeah, but my point is, like, I was not taken out of like the element of the film, or I wasn't like, this is totally unbelievable because there's no depiction of smoking in this fictional 1955.
Because it didn't really mesh for like the point or the plot of the film.
But you're supposed to believe. But you're supposed to believe that he went back into 1955.
Yes, you went back to 1955. I understand that's like the point, but like it is a family film, so they're not like really focusing on like the smoking, the stress.
But they were still able to get people to believe that it's 1955.
Yeah.
Yeah, because smoking wasn't the only thing about 1955, though it was very.
I think it was an overrated movie because there was no cigarettes in it. Pulp Fiction, on the other hand,
it's a classic movie, right? Everyone knows when you're talking about Back to the Future. It still gets culturally referenced. In fact, I was just watching a German show, where they were culturally referencing Back to the Future.
But Back to the Future wasn't like an examination of 1955.
It was literally.
It was
Back to the Future. Back to the Future would have been better.
Like history of 1955.
It would have been better if the people were smoking in the 50s.
It's arguably a perfect movie, or like
arguably a perfect.
It's a great movie. It's a great movie.
Well, no. It's just his subjective take.
Is that be better with cigarettes? Yeah.
Lactoid, right? You want an objective ranking?
I like gritty. Yeah, I like gritty movies. Okay, I like a little bit of grit.
It is critically acclaimed. It has a lasting legacy.
Pulp Fiction. Pulp Fiction is critically acclaimed, and it has rape.
I would argue Back to the Future's legacy is way more impactful than Pulp Fiction, even though Pulp Fiction is a great movie.
What about Air Bud?
Air Bud, yeah, a great movie.
Those movies have.
I believe that dog can play basketball.
There's no rules. There's dog.
Yeah.
All right, I gotta bounce, my friends. I gotta go.
Okay. We are past time. Sorry. Just pause for a second. All right, guys. Thanks for being here. Much appreciated. This was a lot of fun. I'll give you guys an outro. So I'll let you go first, Lactoid.
Why do you have a lighter? Is that a lighter?
Yeah, it's a Zippo.
Most Lactoid really wants to look cool.
Yeah,
like you gotta understand.
It's a.
I know, because he's
trying to build here. Motorcycle, Zippo.
It's a Viking. Of course. So I'm Lactoid. You can find me at Lactoid TV on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube. The biggest problem with Zippos is that when you fill them with fuel, they oftentimes evaporate the fuel before you can use it to light. So they're not super practical, actually. But they are iconic and windproof for whatever purpose that actually helps you with. But most of all, they're iconic. And one of, I think, the biggest negatives of having smoking on the big screen be reduced or removed entirely is you no longer hear as often, which is fucking sick.
I do like that sound. I think it's a pretty good sound. I'll give you that.
It's a good
great
sound,
noise.
Like,
iconic. Men have fought men have died. That one scene from Fury when they're in the tank and he pulls out the bottle of booze is so much more powerful because of that. I think that alcohol is very culturally rooted, going back to the beginning of mankind, probably. And I don't think that it's something that we should remove from society. But I do think that it's something that we should be careful about. And I think it's something that we should be very moderate about. And I think it's something that if people need help, they should get help. And I think it's something that, you should avoid becoming a raging alcoholic. And my opinion is the same when it comes to gambling or any substance, really. But in this case, gambling, because that's what the topic is about. And if somebody wants to pay, or I guess maybe not necessarily, sort of, but kind of in the same vein, if somebody wants to pay you to go do something dumb, objectively evaluate the risks and make a good decision. Don't do anything illegal. Don't do anything that harasses people, assaults people, burns anything down. It's all bad, and you go to prison for a long time. And also, it's morally wrong. But if it's something just dumb, like tattooing a name on your head, which was I think the biggest example that I've been able to find on the internet of this pump.fun shenanigans, I think that's fine. I mean, Post Malone has fucking tattooed a bunch of dumb shit on his face without getting paid by Pump.Fun, and it's worked out pretty good for him. So I think some Indian wants to do it for like a bunch of money. Yeah, if some Indian wants to be like Post Malone, be my guest. But make smart decisions. Don't be dumb. But yeah, that's basically my message.
Thank you. Let's go to our friend Corey.
I agree with Lactoid in that you should make smart decisions, which my guiding principle is like do everything the opposite of Lactoid. As in, don't drink, don't ride a motorcycle, don't be out of shape.
Don't get bitches.
True. Yes, exactly. And so yeah, therefore, in conclusion, ban alcohol, ban cigarettes, ban gambling, ban football,
ban Lactoid.
Yes, and ban motorcycles. You can find me on Twitch, Corey Campbell 4, Twitter, X, YouTube, Instagram, Substack, TikTok. It's Corey Campbell. Lactoid Ali. Always a pleasure. Love you, Brian.
Thank you so much. And finally, our friend Ali.
Yeah, I think if you have a country of broke people doing crazy things out of desperation, that isn't good. That is coercion. And in Lactoid, in your world, we end up having a real life Squid Games. And I just don't think that's good for America. But yeah, thank you.
In celebration of our friend Lactoid, I'm going to rate a female streamer who in her tags has she's English and a Russian language streamer. But yeah, thank you, you guys. Like it really was a lot of fun. Appreciate it, and we'll do it next week, hopefully with more people. But we'll see. But yeah, we're out. Thanks so much, guys.
All right, take care. Be well. Have a good one.
Peace. Have a good night, guys.